keeping you guys up to date with everything that's happening happening behind the scenes, and of course with who's going to be meeting, who each driver is going to be coming up against in the top 16 as well. So it looks like our first battle is ready to go, and that will see our highest qualifier pitched against our lowest qualifier, which will see Paul Kennedy coming up against John Hall.
Yeah, I mean, John Hall qualifying in 32nd position. Paul Kennedy looking very, very good. Qualified first. People asking me, who do you think could win this weekend? Do you know what, Eddie? Paul Kennedy looks strong, but I don't know if he's got it in him for the win. He could prove me wrong. I mean, he looked very, very good in practice earlier and yesterday, so maybe he's come to this round and thought, you know what, it's the last round of the championship. I want a podium, I want a trophy, I want to prove my worth before we go into the 2018 season.
What I will say about Paul Kennedy is I haven't seen him driving this aggressively and this consistently in a long time, so certainly do not rule him out. But I do wonder, and I think you might be right, should he get to, say, Grade 8 Final 4, will the car have the pace that some of the other cars have, which may lead to some difficulties for him?
Especially when you look down that side of the bracket, he could potentially get Thomas Falvey, Chris Burnett, I mean, Ryan Morton, Alan Hinds, Jason Clark, Alan McNeil,
Joseph Roberts, Alan O'Neill as well.
Tom Murphy. That side of his bracket is a very stacked bracket.
It really is. And, and I think even when you look over to the other side, you have Danny O'Callaghan, you have Jordan Boyce coming up against Ryan Caldwell. Galvin has got a bye into the top 16 as Robin Neeson has retired from the competition. Francis O'Shea looking very, very confident out there. Stuart Gilmore qualifying third there. Connor Shanahan, Liam Devlin there. John Shine and Danny Waldron. No matter what side of the bracket you look at, it's
not easy.
Certainly not. And I think it's going to be very hard fought. A lot of guys, it's the last round of the season, so they are going to be pushing extra hard, knowing that should they damage the cars, they have a whole off season to replace them. So and everybody wants to finish the season on a high as well.
Exactly. So we can look onto the start line, and we do see Paul Kennedy just whipping his car around John Hall's S14 there. So two equally matched pace cars here, really, as it's an M3 versus an M3.
Yes,
potentially.
Essentially,
yeah.
Yeah, so obviously Paul Kennedy running the M3 BMW under the bonnet of his E36, and John Hall transplanting a M3 engine into his S14 as they leave the line. It is Paul Kennedy, your highest qualifier, to lead them in. John Hall gives chase. Down the stretch they come, and over the brow of the hill into the first corner, and a big gap opened up already in. And John Hall!
Yeah,
you just see how severe a bump John Hall took, and he was a passenger as soon as he hit that grass.
Wow, John Hall was four wheels in the air as he hit that pump, and you know what, look at Paul Kennedy just riding it out and doing exactly what he'd done in qualifying and what the judges wanted to see.
We've seen people go into the grass there before, Ian, but never have I seen such a severe bounce, and I'd say that didn't feel too comfortable in the...
That was four wheels off track. Watch this, John Hall initiates nice, understeers massively, gets on the grass. Watch this, Eddie, ready? Bam.
Boom.
Four wheels off the... Wow, that was some ride there for John Hall. So things get exciting straight away. A 10-0 advantage to Paul Kennedy. No need to go to the judges. Four wheels off the circuit, Eddie. Loss of drift. Zero is a zero. So.
And I think that shows just what we were talking about, how hard these guys are pushing. They're willing to give it absolutely everything just to try and get themselves, towards the podium section of the competition today. It is the last round, and so much at stake for these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we say, championships all to play. So we go back to the start line. We will see John Hall now lead in Paul Kennedy. Paul Kennedy with that huge advantage.
Yeah, realistically, Paul Kennedy just needs to make a safe enough pass to the circuit. Doesn't have to get too close, but obviously doesn't want to drop off and leave too much of a gap, as the judges might deem that as an uncontested run. But if he stays 2 or 3 car lengths away, he will see himself safely through to the top 16.
So it looks like Paul Kennedy has... he's opened the door. Now, will Paul Kennedy call a 5-minute rule, Eddie? That will lose him one championship point if he decides to call a 5-minute rule. He's just getting our start line marshal there. Just a quick look over the car, make sure it's all still in one piece.
Yeah, obviously, if you do decide to take your 5-minute rule, you are deducted a championship point. Neither of these guys will be overly concerned with that, I imagine, at this stage of the competition, as they're not exactly contending for a championship, so it might make the difference maybe of a place here and there.
Yeah. So it looks like John Hall's No issues with that car. It just looks like a bit of a driver error. He's ready to go. They get the thumbs up and the green light, and they're off the line. It's John Hall to lead in Paul Kennedy for the second half of this battle. And look at Paul Kennedy closely following in John Hall. John Hall this time manages to get that car going.
Yeah, you can see John Hall on big angle, Paul Kennedy with lesser angle, but has that proximity. And the errors just keep on coming for John Hall. It looked like a very scrappy lead run and very difficult for Paul Kennedy to try and chase behind. He's done a good job to maintain proximity here, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Kennedy had not been given the easiest option there behind John Hall. You see on initiation, Kennedy straightened up massively. The scores do drop in though, Eddie, in taking the win and going through to the top 16 is Paul Kennedy.
Yeah, no need to really go to the judges on that one. Pretty much decided on the first run.
Yeah, I mean, very, very hard there for John Hall to try and overturn that 10-0 disadvantage, and especially dropping wheels at Mobile 1. But we move it along, Eddie, to our next battle.
Yes, it's Team Falvey versus Team McFarland. Now, we've heard that the pit crew for Tomas Falvey have been giving out because they haven't got enough
of a mention.
And
So
they're not going to get one today because
wow, because Eddie Bauer says, you know what, I don't do shout outs.
Yeah,
I don't do shout outs.
I'm not interested in your moaning.
The only way to prove your worth is to get your man to do a good skid.
No, to be fair, you got to give a big mention to all the pit crews that are in attendance, and it's the guys behind the scenes. It's big families that keep these guys out on track and keep them going over the weekend. And you always see the drivers after the weekend, they will thank their crew and their family, because without them they wouldn't be able to stay involved in the sport. So it is Tomas Falvey to lead in Daryl McFarland. Daryl McFarland really up against it here. Qualified well in 17th position. Tomas Falvey in 16th, but Tomas looking very fast. And look at the angle that Tomas Falvey pulls and starts to open up the gap here.
Yeah, big initiation from Falvey.
Yeah, does miss that third clipping zone now. Can McFarland get back into this one? He needs to give the judges something to think about here, but he's just not getting that proximity as Falvey throws it onto the wall. McFarland deviates from the qualifying line to try and gain that proximity, but just can't get near the line of Tomas. But Tomas certainly not perfect in the lead position.
No, not a perfect lead run there from Tomas Falvey. I mean, a nice, fast, snappy initiation. We're going to go to a replay there. Unfortunately, you guys at home won't be in attendance won't be able to see that. But look at this fast, snappy initiation. McFarland didn't really have an answer for that, Eddie, and then started to lose pace.
Yeah, and you can see there a big straighten from McFarland in the midsection as well, as he just struggles to keep that car on the right line, trying desperately to get a little bit closer to Falvey. But Falvey, as you can see, a few errors, not getting into the last walled clipping zone there, but a solid line overall. So judges' scores are in, and with an advantage going into the second half of this run, it is Tomas Falvey. Judges, quickly from you, talk us through that run.
Tomas is a fairly good run. He was off a couple of clips. He was off clip 3, but he got onto the wall for the end, so it was an average enough run. But Darrell didn't have any proximity. He was also well off of clip 3, and he was also off clip 5, I think, as they came around. And again, coming onto the first wall, he was off that clip as well. So Tomas has an advantage at the moment, slightly over a 6, because there was a 2.64 on a 7.3, I think. So Falvey with the advantage in the first run.
So there you have it, Tomas Falvey with the advantage. We switched them around. Ian McFarland's going to lead this time around, and he really needs to put in a stamper of a run.
Yeah, I mean, Falvey really going to try and stick it on the door and win this battle over. But
I think the big difference that's going to be here is that Falvey seems to have that pace.
Yeah, massively.
Certainly looks more comfortable. Even though they qualified in quite similar positions, Falvey looks more comfortable. Now Falvey makes a big dive down the inside. Now, can he get on the door of McFarland, who dropped the wheel at that third clipping zone? And yeah, you can see a big difference in proximity here as they switch it onto the wall. Nice line there from both guys, but just struggling with that second outer wall zone, Ian.
Yeah, McFarland not really a very nice lead run there, making it very, very hard for Tomas Falvey to chase. Judges wanted to see a replay of that one.
Well, no, judges' scores do drop in, and taking the win, we can confirm, going through to the top 16 is Tomas Falvey. Quickly back to the judges for a decision.
Yeah, Tomas, good chase there. Not a great lead line to follow there from Darrell, but Tomas did enough to stay with him. Good proximity all the way through, and that got an advantage. And obviously, with the advantage from the first run, takes the battle.
So there we go, and we move it along to our next battle, which will be Chris Burnett and Time Clutter. will be Chris Burnett in the lead position qualifying. So we're just making some slight adjustments to our track here at IDC, just moving our finish line ever so slightly. But off the line we do have Chris Burnett and Ty
Callaghan, and you have to look. You can see the difference here. I mean, they try everything they can not to make this a drag race with the chicanes, but just the difference in horsepower and setup on these two cars. And you know, as good as Ty Callaghan is, there's only so much you can actually do with 230 brake horsepower.
Yeah, especially when you're chasing a man like Chris Burnett. Chris Burnett been very consistent, qualified way up in the order in 8th position, looking very, very strong.
Yeah, and I think it is important to mention here that is an example of a driver being outcarred as opposed to being outclassed.
Yeah, exactly.
So, judges' scores drop in, and it is a distinct advantage here to Chris Burnett, 7.5 to 2.5. Quickly back to you, judges. Big difference in pace there from the two guys.
Yeah, it all really comes down to proximity there. Chris had a great lead line and he really pulled away from Ty there. Ty did as good a job as he could, but just didn't have the legs to keep up with Chris. He also was sacrificing line as well to try and maintain some bit of proximity, but yeah, he came off the qualifying line and missed a good few clips there as well. So a 7.5 advantage across the board to Chris going into the second run.
Now we have that interesting situation now where the faster car has to try and deal with the slower car in front. Now Chris Burnett, a very experienced and talented driver, so I can't imagine he'll have too many problems here, but certainly the lead position is exactly where Ty would want to be, because it's normally, obviously, if you're trying to get over a deficit, you want to be chasing, but for him it's all about maintaining momentum throughout the course, so in the lead position he'll be able to do that a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's going to be very, very hard here for Chris Burnett, but like you say, experienced driver, he's got plenty of seats up under his belt. He's just going to have to try and do the best he can behind the slower car. As they come off the line and head down into initiation, it is Chris Burnett to chase down Ty. And
just about keeping it on circuit. Big dive down the inside as they transition from Chris Burnett now as he tries to get onto the door of that Corolla, but Chris Burnett washing a little bit wide. Did he drop a wheel?
Yeah, Chris Burnett there.
And I think that almost settles it. A big contact with the wall there for Ty Callaghan as he straightens massively then.
So the scores drop in, Eddie, and we can confirm taking the win and going through to the top 16 is Chris Burnett. Chris Burnett gets the win and goes through. We go to our judges.
Yeah, so a great chase there from Chris. You know, he stuck with Tig there all the way through the run. Backed off a little bit between through clip 6, but got back on proximity. Tig's lead was good up until he tacked the ball really hard, and then obviously straightened him up and put him offline a bit. But Chris managed to stay in with him and finish the run strong there.
So there you go.
Yeah, Chris Burnett moves on, and he's definitely one to watch as this drama unfolds as we move along. But next driver is on the line is Ryan Morton taking on Michael Purcell. Now this one is really in the balance because Ryan Morton qualifying the higher qualifier in 9th position, Michael Purcell down the order in 24th, but we don't know how well that clutch is working for Ryan Morton. So you just, as he said himself earlier on, it's a mechanical part. You never know when it's going to give up fully, so he's kind of just making do with what he has at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And Michael Purcell has been driving right, okay.
So if you're watching on the live stream, or if you're in attendance, you'll see Michael Purcell's car now coming down the straight. Just hearing that he debeated a tyre on his warm-up, so he's had to call a 5-minute rule. So a 5-minute rule for Michael Purcell. So we will have to revisit that battle a little bit later on. Now a very important battle on the line. Alan Hinds taking on Alan O'Loughlin. Now Alan Hinds qualifying in 4th position. He's our championship leader. Needs to go to the final here this weekend. He's coming up against Alan O'Loughlin, who qualified down in 29th position. But we didn't really see what we're accustomed to seeing from Alan O'Loughlin. So not the type of guy that you'd want to be coming up against a top 32 stage.
No, I mean, it kind of looked unpredictable this weekend, Alan O'Loughlin. We've seen him do great things in the past, Eddie, and we've seen some really, really good driving from Alan O'Loughlin. Alan Hinds, you know, typically on form, consistent, 2 very, very consistent qualifying runs, not setting the scoreboard alight in first position, but you know what, doing enough to get inside that top 10. Do you know what, I don't even know what way this could go. Alan O'Loughlin could really pull out all the stops now, glue it to the side of the Drift Games S14 and take the win, and you know what, just end Alan Hinds' championship right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alan Hinds, in his own mindset, would be thinking, I would rather this be a battle later on in the competition. Certainly not top 32. But we are go off the line. Alan versus Alan. They've battled before in the amateur series. Who's going to take it through, though? And look at this big straight in there from Alan O'Loughlin in the chase position.
And again, there, Eddie, coming into clipping point 4. Big separation as well. Alan O'Loughlin scrappy behind, dropping clipping points to try and gain proximity. Alan Hinds on a really good lead line.
Yeah, Alan Hinds nailing this in the Drift Games S14 as he crossed the line. Certainly no sign of nerves there from Alan Hinds, but Alan O'Loughlin a little bit scrappy in the chase position.
Yeah. I mean, judges wanted to see a replay of this one as they come off the line. Big separation on initiation.
Yeah, big.
Yeah, great lead line there by Alan. Really dialed in, got all the clipping points. Alan Hinds, should I say? Alan O'Loughlin, unfortunately, he was just a little bit overly aggressive there on his chase run. He had great proximity on initiation, but then after that, then he had to drop back. Ended up missing clipping point 2 and 3 and 4 then as well. Had a little bit of a straighten coming into Mobile 1 corner. Also then missed clipping point 6 as well. So just a scrappy chase run, trying to keep proximity, just overly aggressive. So a sizable advantage to Alan Hinds going into the second run.
So there you have it, a sizable advantage, 7.2 to 2.8, the average between the 3 judges in favour of Alan Hinds as they start to appear on the top left of your screens. Back up at the start line, we will switch them around. Alan O'Loughlin now to lead in Alan Hinds. Is there anything Alan O'Loughlin can do here to try and overturn this disadvantage? I mean, Alan Hinds has looked very, very comfortable. He's not the type of driver that makes a whole lot of mistakes. So you expect to see him be quite sensible here.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Hinds really going to have to try and stick it on the door. Alan O'Loughlin just needs to put down the lead of his life. Big, fast initiation from Alan O'Loughlin as he fires that 180SX in. Alan Hinds now makes a big dive coming to clipping point 4. Can he keep it? Almost comes to a straighten through Mobile 1. Alan O'Loughlin on a really, really good line now. Alan Hinds makes another huge dive, rubs the back end of that Drift Games S14 on the wall. Alan Hinds not got the best chase in my opinion, Eddie, but you know what? They do enough to get it across the line.
Yeah, I think Alan's chase was a little bit closer and a little bit better, but certainly not without its mistakes. The judges' scores are dropping in. And we can confirm going through to the top 16 is Alan Hinds. Alan Hinds takes it through to the top 16. We got to get a decision from our judges. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Hinds had a great chase there. Kept proximity well in and tagging the wall fairly hard, but not enough to sort of put him offline there. So it was but Alan O'Loughlin, it's okay lead. He had a bit of a wobble at 2, good enough to follow, but Alan's proximity there just gaining him the slight advantage from this run, and with the strong advantage from the first run, taking the battle.
So job.
Yeah. Job done, but you know what? For me, Alan Hinds needs to do a little bit more if he's going to. I mean, we're yet to wait. We've got the battle on the line now. Ryan Morton, Michael Purcell. For me, Alan Hinds needs to kind of just tidies up his chase run a little bit because it was a little bit scrappy behind Alan O'Loughlin. I think he was lucky that Loughlin was making a whole bunch of mistakes. We're about to find out who Alan Hinds faces in the top 16. As on the line, we have Michael Purcell to take on Ryan Morton. So a little bit of confusion in the tower. Eddie's getting a little bit confused. I'm a little bit confused. Right about now, we do have a 10-0 advantage for Ryan Morton, as Michael Purcell had to call a 5-minute rule before he could do his run, Eddie. So technically, Morton has a 10-0 advantage, and look at this chase run from Ryan Morton. Michael Purcell doing everything he can to try and overturn that deficit, but you know what, Eddie, I don't think he's got enough in him to do it.
Yes, this goes back to the rules.
Confusing times.
Yeah, it goes back to the rules of you can't call a 5-minute rule on the line. That means you're not in your position when you need to be there. And you do suffer a 10-0. Scores come in. Going through to the top 16 is Ryan Morton. 10-0 on the first run. Pretty much decides that one. No need to go back to the judges for an explanation on it.
Yes, I mean, Ryan Purcell couldn't run, had to call a 5-minute rule. I mean, he gives up that run. And yeah, I mean, lucky day for Ryan Morton. That means that Ryan Morton will face Alan Hinds in the top 16. Alan Hinds' ride to the championship not getting any easier, Eddie.
Well, no, actually, Alan Hinds is going to come up against either Jason Clark or Garrett Finnegan, the winner of this battle. So,
wrong way, yep.
Yep. So it'll be Chris Burnett to take on Ryan Morton. We have Paul Kennedy coming up against Tomas Falvey. I mean, that's only top 16, and those battles are, you know, I mean, some really big guns, big heavyweights of the Pro-Am series already coming up against each other at such early stages.
So we look to the line where we do see Jason Clark to take on Gareth Finnegan. Jason Clark from Team Slide Motorsport making the journey over to take on this Pro-Am Championship. But look at Gareth Finnegan right tagging on the back end of that V8 RX-7 of Slide Motorsport. But Jason Clark putting down a good lead run so far, Eddie, and Gareth Finnegan dropping way offline to try and gain some proximity.
Yeah, Gareth Finnegan having a big straighten through that mid-section after the transition from 3 to 4, and then really sacrifices his line. Jason Clark, on the other hand, doing a really good job in that lead position, and he takes it across the line, and don't be surprised to see him with a sizable advantage here. Well, judges deeming it a little bit closer than we did. A 5.7 to 4.3 advantage to Jason Clark. We need a judge's opinion on that one. Talk us through it.
Good run there from Jason. Yeah, on all the clips, his lines all day really have been very good. Garrett, you know, he had proximity at the start to a point, but then he took a big dive coming out to, you know, come into mobile and actually around the inside of the track, and he actually gained proximity for that, you know, by doing that. But then it dropped off again, so there was separation at the end. So Jason taking a good advantage after the first one.
So there we go, Eddie. We get them back to the start line and swap them around. It will be now Gareth Finnegan to lead in Jason Clark. Could we see Alan Hinds go against Jason Clark?
I think we could. I mean,
Jason Clark looks on form.
He really does, and he's going to go into the chase position. And you know, we're talking about Jason Clark having, you know, a slight advantage here already, but that was from the lead position where it's harder. You know, it might look like he did much better on that first run than Gareth Finnegan did, but of course, it's harder to pick up those points in the lead position. So now he's in that chase position. If he can get good proximity here, we could see him with a convincing win over Gareth Finnegan. But of course, Gareth did have that sketchy first run qualifying, then he came out the second run and blitzed it, qualified in 20th position.
Who knows how this is going to go, Eddie, but we're about to find out. As they come off the line, it will be Jason Clark to chase down Gareth Finnegan. Gareth Finnegan, late initiation, initiates after clipping point 1. Carries good speed though, and Jason Clark now starts to make the dive as they come into mobile 1. Jason Clark way down the bank.
Big straighten there from Jason Clark, but he gets it back on angle now. He really needs to keep this close here into the final sections.
Yeah, Jason Clark with a huge error as they fire it to the wall and across the finish line.
I think this one's going to be close because Jason Clark, it was in his hands, and I think he's handed it a little bit back to...
yeah, kind of went wrong for Jason Clark. Initiation, I do believe. Look at this. Gareth Finnegan initiates at clipping point 1. Jason Clark's already initiated by this point. Comes in very, very hot, has to back out of it. Finnegan on good power, but then this is where Finnegan slows, and then look, he lifts on clipping point 5, Finnegan. Clark has to back out of it a little bit. Oh, you know what, Eddie? I don't know what way the judges are going to go on this one.
So judges still discussing this one and re-watching it. They want to make sure that they are making the correct decision. Of course, as it certainly wasn't a perfect run by any stretch of the imagination. I think this one goes back to the scoring on the first run, and I can reveal taking it through to the top 16 is Gareth Finnegan. Gareth Finnegan taking the win. Judges, we need you to talk us through that one because that looked very, very close.
Yeah, that was real close. unfortunately, Jason's straight in there, kind of demolishing any chance that he had. He had reasonable proximity. It was not as close as Gareth was in his chase run, but he sort of maintained a bit more. But he dropped off the clips as well. Gareth's lead run wasn't quite as good as Jason's, but the mistakes that Jason made were just that little bit more, and that's what separated them for me.
So there you have it. Jason Clark unfortunately bows out, and that will be the end of his competitive weekend. Gareth Finnegan moving on now into the top 16. We move on to our next top 32 battle, which will see Alan McNeil come up against Tom Murphy.
Yeah, Alan McNeil in that SR20 powered Toyota Corolla AE86 against Tom Murphy in that SR22 500 horsepower S14 WCB. Thomas Murphy, the man really that could do anything right now.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, he's qualified way down the order, but he's not the type of guy you want to come up against, because when it comes to battles, you can't count him out. It doesn't matter where he qualifies.
No.
It's whatever Tom shows up on the day. But Alan McNeil looks like he's pulling a bit of a gap here as Tom starts to close the door now. As they switch it back through the middle. Certainly not the widest line. Oh, and a big error from Alan McNeil. But Alan McNeil did pull a gap there, but not on the widest of lines around the circuit, Ian.
No, it pulled a good lead there after initiation, and like you say, and Tom Murphy dropping clipping points. You can see on the replay. McNeil had a very nice fast initiation. Tom Murphy seemed to hang back a little bit here. Look, initiates, scrubs some speed, and then doesn't really try and get on the door. Alan McNeil accelerates away, and then look at this. Murphy drops clipping point 4, gets in the middle of mobile 1, not where the judges wanted to see him. Starts to make a dive, but it's the big straight and after the wall run for Alan McNeil that really throws things out the window. Look at this, nearly over rotates. Has to scrub off all the angle. Not a tidy lead.
No, the scores drop in there. 6.2 to 3.8 advantage. Judges, give us a run through of that first half of that battle.
Pretty good lead line there by Alan, and the only thing that we could mark him down with really is that he had kind of an over rotation between clipping point 6 and 7, or 7 and 8, and then missed clipping point 8 as a result of that. But Tom in the chase position unfortunately just had too many errors. Ended up missing clipping point 3, and then made a very sizable mistake there where he ran the inside line around mobile 1 corner to try and gain any proximity that he had lost. He then missed clipping point 6 and 7 then as well to try and maintain that proximity on Alan, something that we don't like to see. And because of Alan's okay lead run, other than that mistake, he comes out with a slight advantage going into the second run.
So we switch them around. Tom Murphy will lead in Alan McNeil for the second half of this battle. A spot in the top 16 up for grabs.
Yeah, all to play for right now as they sit on the line. They get the thumbs up from our start line and they get the green light. It's go for Tom Murphy and Alan McNeil. And look at the separation, Eddie. This is what I wondered on the first half of the battle. Was Alan McNeil not as fast as Murphy, but Murphy drops clipping point 3 there massively.
Yeah, and Alan McNeil doing what the judges want to see is if you have a gap, stay on your qualifying line. Don't sacrifice the track to try.
Oh, and an over rotation from Thomas Murphy.
Yeah, Tom Murphy giving the judges an easy decision to make. A 10-0 in favour of Alan McNeil means Alan McNeil will progress through to the top 16. And unfortunately, that is the last we will see of Tom Murphy in the 2017 campaign. So one more battle on this side of the top 32 bracket before we move over to the other side. We're motoring through them here this afternoon.
Yeah, we're getting through them, Eddie, and you know what, top 16 just looks equally as stacked as what the top 32 does. Some seriously heavyweight battles are going on later on today. So, like you say, we move it along and we go to our next battle, which we'll see Joseph Roberts and Alan O'Neill. Joseph Roberts not looking strong.
Do you know what? He hasn't looked as strong as we've seen him in the past.
No.
But do not rule him out. Alan O'Neill, very poor first qualifying run, then,
Nailed the
second one, looked so strong. So this one hangs in the balance here. Really going to come down to who's just more on form. But look at the aggression here from Alan O'Neill as he dives down the inside of that E30 of Joseph Roberts. Can he maintain the proximity? Big error.
Massive error there.
And a spin for Alan O'Neill, just getting caught up, overly aggressive.
You know what, that was just too much aggression from Alan O'Neill on initiation. Couldn't keep the pace. Roberts slowed down quite a bit going into clipping point 3, and that threw Alan O'Neill massively off of his line. It caused him to make quite a lot of errors there. So no need to go to the judges. That will be a 10-0 advantage to Joseph Roberts. Yeah, look at this. Big aggression on initiation. Tries to carry the speed, but Roberts isn't carrying that much pace. Transitions too early to try and make the dive. Puts himself on the middle of the circuit. And then, yeah, wheel off and a spin. So we wait to get those guys back to the start line.
You can just see our next battle waiting in the background. Danny O'Callaghan coming up against Richie T, and Richie T really going to be up against it there, coming up against informed Danny O'Callaghan.
Yeah, to Callaghan qualifying second. The guy looked strong all morning in practice, and then, yeah, I mean, it's not the kind of guy you want to meet in top 32.
And not long after that, we have Jordan Boyce taking on Ryan Caldwell. And I mean, that's a very, very interesting battle on paper. I think Jordan Boyce is going to be up against, in terms of machinery, Ryan Caldwell in that new S15.
Yeah, if anything, I think Boyce is out-card ever so slightly there from Caldwell. But I don't think, you know what, Boyce has got it in the bag. We know that much. He can pedal that car. But let's get this one finished off first, Eddie. On the line, we do have Alan O'Neill to lead in Joe Roberts.
Yeah, Alan with a mountain to climb here now if he has any hopes of progressing through to the top 16. Really needs Roberts to make a massive error in that chase position, which I'm not so sure we will see. So down the stretch they come as Roberts tucks in behind Alan O'Neill. You can just see the big gap here now. Roberts would want to be careful here. He wouldn't want the judges to deem this a non-contested run. He needs to get a little bit more proximity here. It looks like now he's starting to do just about enough to get himself some points on the board here. Alan O'Neill doing everything he can, rides it all along the wall, using every last inch of tarmac at him on this Mondello circuit. But I'm not sure it'll be enough. He'll probably carry an advantage in points. Yeah, look at this. 9-1, 8-2 and 9-1 in favour of Alan O'Neill, but not enough to overturn that 10-0 on the first run. And unfortunately for Alan O'Neill, that will be where his weekend will end. Joseph Roberts progressing through to the top 16. So Ian, we don't really need to discuss that with the judges. That one all coming down to the first run.
Yeah, and I mean, Joe Roberts not really having the proximity. Judges scoring him way down the order on that, but you know what, not enough to overturn a 10-0, so he gets the win and progresses through. He will face Alan McNeil in top 16, but we move it back to the start line where we see Danny O'Callaghan taking on Richie T. Interesting battle, very, very on form, Danny Callaghan. As they come off the line, Richie T got a lot of work on his hands right now. They come through the gears and you can hear that Jay-Z absolutely screaming under the bonnet of Danny O'Callaghan's R33 Skyline, but he makes a big error on initiation. Yeah, huge problem. Has to reinitiate on Mobile 1. Tian is right with him though, keeping that car absolutely dialed as he runs the wall.
Yeah, big wall run there from Richie T, and it just costs him a little bit as he loses some ground to Danny O'Callaghan. And as they cross the line, guys, make some noise for Danny O'Callaghan and Richie T.
Yeah, kind of want to see what happened here. Judges do too as we go to a replay. You can see it coming down now. Danny absolutely flying as he fires that R33 Skyline in. Tian holds back a little bit. Look at that big understeer. That's what caused the upset then. And look at that, Callaghan has to reinitiate on Mobile 1. Not good.
No, certainly not. A really big straighten there from Danny O'Callaghan. He also taking out that cone at the second clipping zone. So judges just taking their time with this one, just making sure they're taking everything into account. Some errors from both drivers. And as those scores start to drop in, taking the advantage 7-3 is Richie T, and judges talk us through it.
Lots of mistakes there by Danny on his lead run, unfortunately. Just passing clipping point 2, he dropped a wheel, almost 2 wheels off over the curb. Then he had a straight in between clipping point 2 and 3. After that, then he seemed to have another issue just after passing clipping point 4, coming down into Mobile 1 corner. Richie, he didn't have much proximity, especially with Danny's mistakes, but he kept drifting most of the stayed to the qualifying line. So with that amount of mistakes from Danny, it's a strong 7-3 to Richie going into the second run for me.
So if Danny O'Callaghan has any hopes of progressing and finishing higher than 10th position in the championship. He really needs to pull something out of the bag here. He needs to apply as much pressure on Richie T as possible and try and force an error.
Yeah, he really needs to pull it out of the bag now. I mean, sitting on that deficit, he's going to try and stick it on the door of Richie Tian's car as Richie Tian leads in Daniel Callaghan. And look at this, Daniel Callaghan doing exactly what we expected, pinning that R33, big dive, oh, and contact from Danny O'Callaghan into the side of Tian's car. Tian keeps it going. Absolutely brilliant is Tian. Look at this, perfect line. Oh, and Callaghan shuts it down. Tian brings it across the line. You know what, Tian looking on form today.
Yeah, big scalp there for Richie Tian. A 10-0 advantage to him on the second half of that run. Pretty much settles it. Going through to the top 16 is Richie Tian, taking out Danny O'Callaghan, and a big scalp there, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to see that from Callaghan. A nice aggression on the initiation, but...
And I mean, just shows that you can never go just on qualifying. That was a second place qualifier against 31st place qualifier. Yeah. You know, on a normal competition, you'd kind of side with the guy who qualified in second position. But Richie T takes it through to the top 16. Jordan Boyce now coming up against Ryan Caldwell, and interestingly here, Boyce is the higher qualifier.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Boyce coming off that win at Driftland, BDC looking very strong. But Caldwell, you know, coming off that win at Teesside BDC. Both these guys looking very strong at the moment. Both of them nothing to lose, Eddie.
Certainly nothing to lose, and dominating over in the BDC the last 2 rounds. Who is going to take it through them? Will the power be a difference maker in this battle? As they leave the line, Caldwell is all over the back of Jordan Boyce as they launch through that first section. Look at this. What about that for a line from Jordan Boyce, just nailing it, and it doesn't look like Caldwell has much of an answer here as he starts to apply the pressure though. Did he sacrifice a little bit of line to try and get door to door?
Oh.
And a big shutdown and straighten. Oh! And almost going off track.
Wow.
A few errors there, but it looks like the bigger of those errors going to Ryan Caldwell. And yeah, judges' scores coming in across the board. We will go quickly to them just to get a full confirmation on it, but 10-0 advantage to Jordan Boyce. A number of errors there, guys, in very quick succession.
Jordan, a really good line there again. No issues there with Jordan's line. Ryan made quite a lot of errors while chasing. From mobile on, like he kind of got caught there on the inside, and then he had a big straight here in front of us, but it looks like he had an issue and had to shut down eventually, so it's 10-0 at the moment to Jordan Boyce.
So Jordan Boyce with that 10-0, not exactly the way we pictured it going, and it was, as we said, more so down to the actual machinery rather than the talent. But it looks as though Caldwell having some difficulties there, not able to get back to his pitting area. So we would just wait to hear, will he call a 5-minute rule, or is there a potential issue with this car that would stop him from competing for the rest of the event?
Yep, so you could just see our Mondello track staff getting down there now to tow Ryan Caldwell back to the pits. Or can he make it under his own steam? Looks like that car will make it under his own steam.
So in our top 10, Dean Martin is out, Danny O'Callaghan is out, and Jordan Boyce now looks like he could be taking out Ryan Caldwell, who currently sits in 7th position.
So Ryan Caldwell has called a 5-minute rule. You can see here on the replay, shuts it down, tries to reinitiate, car not doing anything that he wanted it to do. So yeah, Ryan Caldwell calls a 5-minute rule. Unfortunately, problems with that car, not good at this stage of the...
So next up on the line is Ian Galvin, he's coming up against Formula Drift visitor Byron because Robin Neeson had to retire from competition. So Ian Galvin just going to make one pass at the circuit before we either return to the second half of the Jordan Boyce Ryan Caldwell battle, or actually move on to the next battle. So
what happens if Ian Galvin spins?
Byron gets
The win. No one goes through.
No one goes through.
So you're seeing a very on form Ian Galvin at the moment, qualifying in 7th position, looking strong. That's CAC. And nearly spun.
Nearly spun. Nearly went off track, and we were nearly about to find out what would actually happen in that scenario.
So as Ian Galvin takes it across the line, that will be his bye run into the top 16.
Was he leading or chasing there?
Both. Chasing himself, leading himself on.
So Ian Galvin progresses through to the top 16. It looks like we are going to move forward to our next battle, which is Francis O'Shea taking on Niall Greeley. Francis O'Shea, though, has looked really, really impressive this morning.
Yeah, Francis O'Shea looked good from yesterday morning. That car was looking absolutely dialed. Francis looked dialed, driving it, but you know what? You can't catch now Greeley out of the competition. He looked very, very good in qualifying. That second qualifying run was very on point. I mean, not sure how the judges are going to play this one out. So they get the green light, they're good to go. It's Francis O'Shea to lead in Niall Greeley.
Yeah, and two guys that, you know, they pick and choose the rounds, so you wouldn't expect them. You wouldn't blame them for not being on form with lack of driving and competition driving, but they come out of the bat swinging. And look at this, Francis O'Shea doing a really good job here. Niall Greeley struggling just to keep pace. Can't just get that proximity. Oh, looked all out of shape. Had to back out of it there to avoid making contact as he transitioned onto the wall. As the wind begins to starts to pick up here, Ian, and do you know what? It wouldn't be an IDC season without at least one event where we get blown out of the tower.
Yeah, we're nearly going to get blown away here, Eddie. It's got very windy in the last 10 minutes. Yeah, look at this. A lovely lead run there from Francis O'Shea. Niall Greeley, I mean, look, understeers massively coming into clipping point 3, has to back out of it ever so slightly, and then he kind of throws away any kind of points he had as Francis O'Shea walks away with it in Mobile 1. Nice transition on clipping point 6, comes onto the wall nice, and then, yeah, I mean, Francis O'Shea, good lead run. So the scores drop in. Yeah, and with a small advantage, 6.2 to 3.8 is Francis O'Shea. We go to our judges.
Yeah, I mean, Francis had a good lead run. We were just watching back just to see if he did slow through clip 2 at all to cause Niall to drop off there, but there was no slow that we could see. Niall dropped back from the proximity he had from the start, which is a shame, but with Francis's good lead, sending him to a good sort of around 6-4 advantage into the next run. Niall just dropping off that proximity and diving in a few clips there and missing some of the clips at the end of the track. Just lost any advantage he could have had.
So there you go, Niall Greeley throwing it away on his own accord there, Eddie.
Yeah, now he has a chance to try and recover some of the damage here. Certainly a 6.2 to 3.8 advantage is not impossible to overturn. He's in the lead position. Can he pull a gap here on Francis O'Shea? But Francis O'Shea is looking so fast. I'm not sure if he'll be able to do that. As they come down the stretch and over the brow of the hill, they throw it into that first corner.
Yeah, good aggression from Francis O'Shea there as he now starts to glue that S15 to the side of Niall Greeley's R32, making a dive, Eddie, on Mobile 1.
Yeah, Greeley coming off that qualifying line and missing the third clipping zone, now making a big straight in there as they come through the midsection and throw it down onto the wall. Francis O'Shea dropping back a little bit and making some errors of his own in the chase position.
Yeah, you know what, not the best battle for both of those guys, really, mistakes on both parts. But the scores drop in, Eddie, and with a 6-4 advantage, Francis O'Shea takes the win and goes through to the top 16. We go to our judges.
Yeah, good chase there by Francis. And Niall had a little bit of he kind of slowed coming out of clip 5, which Francis had to kind of back out a little bit to have contact. There was no real issue there. Francis maintained proximity through the whole run, so he took a nice advantage after that, so 6-4 again.
So we go back to the Jordan Boyce and Ryan Caldwell battle. Ryan Caldwell with a 10-0 deficit. Jordan Boyce, all the points, in the best position to win this battle, in the chase position. Caldwell...
Yeah, I mean, look, Caldwell is really up against it here. I mean, Boyce is really starting to come into himself and show us just what a talent he is. And, you know, as we said, you wouldn't have expected him to be in this position, given the difference in machinery here. Oh, Jordan Boyce! Definitely 2, possibly 3 wheels. Massive mistake, but keeps it going. And just almost rolling Burnett in the chase position there at the moment. Big tag of the wall. Jordan Boyce. A lot of errors here. Could this be... I'm not sure if it's enough for a 10-0.
I don't know if it's enough for a 10-0, Eddie.
But it certainly is enough for a 9-1 advantage to Ryan Caldwell, meaning taking the battle by the slightest of margins is Jordan Boyce. But what about the errors? Quickly go to the judges just for a little bit of a discussion on that one, because you know what? Whew, Jordan Boyce nearly throwing that one away.
Yeah, really good lead line there by Ryan, but it just mistakes by Jordan in the chase position. Off a good few clips, they took the inside line around Mobile and had a massive impact in with the wall as well, passing clipping 0.7. That coupled in with no real proximity to Ryan, it was almost a 10-0, but just a 9-1 finish there, and Jordan taking the win overall.
Well, it does not come much closer than that in terms of trying to throw away a 10-0 disadvantage, but Jordan Boyce will go through to the top 16. A rush of blood to the head possibly for the young man, and he is going to be coming up against Richie T in that top 16. We move it along. Stuart Gilmore now taking on Nigel Moody. Now, Nigel Moody qualifying down in 30th position. Gilmore qualifying in 3rd position. But you know what? The steadiness and consistency of Moody is not what you want to be coming up against.
No, I mean, but Stuart Gilmore looks very, very strong. He looks like he's got this track absolutely dialed, and he looks like he's the man to be beaten this weekend as they come down. Gilmore throws in a big, fast initiation. Moody tries to match it. Almost runs wheels off track, and he does. Moody goes off track.
Big commitment from Nigel Moody, and it just doesn't work out for him as he gets lost in the smoke from Stuart Gilmore.
You know what, for me, it looked like Moody. See, Gilmore's initiation tried to match it, just couldn't keep the pace at all and ended up sending that car off track.
So judges just wanted to see that one more time, so we won't call a 10-0 on it just yet until they have given us the go-ahead and the confirmation. And those scores do drop in, and it is a 10-0 advantage to Stuart Gilmore. No need to go to the judges, that is pretty much clear cut. 4 wheels off track there for Nigel Moody, and the judges clearly deeming that to be his own fault and not caused by Stuart Gilmore. So as they head back to the start line, Ian, you know, we almost saw 10-0 overturned just on our last battle between Jordan Boyce and Ryan Caldwell. Could we see something similar this time around?
You know, I don't think Gilmore's going to give Moody any room. You know, okay, he's sitting with a 10-0 advantage, but I don't think Gilmore's going to do it. Gilmore's going to try and keep nice close proximity to Nigel Moody. Nigel Moody's a very good, consistent driver, so you know, he can trust him, he can lean on him a little bit.
Yeah, do you know what? I think what happened with Jordan Boyce is probably comes down to his age, being 15 years of age, a lot of nerves. You know, he'd be coming up against a guy that is, you know, similar age to him, but that he would probably look up to as well in the sport, and the chance to go, you know, progress through to the top 16, a big deal for him. We saw that when he came up against Conor Shanahan in the BDC in Driftland. You know, his driving deteriorated just so slightly, and I think a lot of it just down to that nerves. But he is going to be moving on, and will we see Nigel Moody manage to overturn this disadvantage? That remains to be seen. He is in the lead position, and Gilmore's going to give chase. Gilmore looking so fast out there.
Yeah, Gilmore looks very, very quick. Like I say, looks like he's got that track absolutely dialed. They're off the line. It is Stuart Gilmore to chase down Nigel Moody. Nigel Moody in that lead position. Going to have to pull it all out of the bag now if Moody's going to overturn that 10-0. A nice fast initiation from Moody this time, but it's wide, Eddie. It's very, very wide.
Very wide, yeah. Moody dialing on big angle through that first corner and missing the second clipping zone.
Yeah, Gilmore keeps his distance from Moody through Mobile 1 now. Starts to rein him in and make the dive. Look at this. Oh, and Moody seals the deal. Yeah, as Nigel Moody puts in a spin, Stuart Gilmore shuts it down and drives back to our marshal. And we don't need to go to the judges for that one, Eddie.
No, 2 10-0s, pretty clear cut over the 2 runs. Stuart Gilmore moving on to the top 16. Nigel Moody will end his weekend there. Very unfortunate for him and the team. But they will be back, as always, next season. Now we move on to a very important battle. It is 2 teammates coming up against each other. Conor Shanahan, who in his second qualifying run looked a little bit shady. He's coming up against John O'Hare. John qualifying in 19th position. So not a whole lot between these 2 guys in terms of where they qualified today. And these two machines very well matched as well.
Yeah, two very, very capable cars, two capable drivers. Conor Shanahan not looking as strong as what we expected him to see, especially sitting in second position in the championship. All to play for. He knows that Alan Hinds has gone through to the top 16. To keep that championship alive, Eddie, he needs to go through John O'Hare first. They're off the line. It's Conor Shanahan to lead in John O'Hare. And look at John O'Hare right with Conor Shanahan. Shanahan fires his car in, but John O'Hare is right with him. Bit of separation now as Shanahan transitions, but John O'Hare starts to make the dive through Mobile 1 and starts to push on the door of Conor Shanahan's car.
Yeah,
Conor Shanahan very wide, Eddie.
Yeah, mistake starting to creep into Jono's run here now as Conor just starts to turn the screw a little bit. Jono did have that proximity, but cut the course quite a bit to try and maintain that as he went through the circuit. Conor doing a really good job there. Scores drop in 6-2 advantage to Conor Shanahan. 6.2 out of the 3.8. We go back to the judges just to talk us through it.
Really good lead line there by Conor. The only thing that we could mark him down with really is that he had a slight wheel drop just after clipping point 3. Jono started off very strong, but he lost proximity between 2 and 3 and missed clipping point 3 then as a result of that. A slightly scrappy chase run from there on in. He did somewhat maintain proximity, but he was cutting the track to maintain that proximity. So with Conor's fairly strong lead line, it ends up at a slight advantage to Conor going into the second run.
So there you have it. The young Sham takes the advantage.
The young Sham.
The young Sham.
So John O'Hare now in that lead position, a dangerous place for John O'Hare to be, especially with Conor Shanahan coming off of that win from BDC last weekend. They're off the line. It's Conor Shanahan to chase down John O'Hare.
Yeah, Jono leads them in, and Conor, you can just see piles out. Oh, off track goes John O'Hare, taking the 4x4 route. And while John O'Hare goes on safari, Conor Shanahan makes the overtake and completes the circuit, and that is all she wrote for John O'Hare. And Conor Shanahan keeps himself in the championship, in the hunt and the chase for the title as he progresses through to the top 16. So both our top two championship order drivers moving on to that top 16, which is what we want to see. We want to see a fight all the way to the end. Will we see these two guys meet in the final?
I mean,
it's the only place they can meet.
It's the only place they can meet is in the final. We're about to find out who is next in the top 16. It will be Liam Devlin to take on Trevor McInerney. Devlin looking strong, Eddie. Currently sitting 6th in the points. Potentially, you know, I mean, now Dean Martin's out. He could, if Chris Burnett goes out top 16, Devlin carries on the way he's going, he could find himself inside that top 4 of the championship.
Yeah, he needs to just take each run as it comes and just see where he ends up. But certainly within in the hunt to get into that top 4 position. Just deviating from the qualifying line ever so slightly now, and McInerney dropping a wheel and shallows up just a little bit to try and get some proximity here on Devlin. Oh, definitely 3. Was that 4 wheels off there from McInerney?
McInerney way off track. Look how cool, calm and collected Devlin is out front. Absolutely dialed.
Yeah, Devlin doing a really good job there. And big errors from McInerney. Scores come in. 7-3 advantage to Devlin. Judges talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great lead from Liam there. You know, nothing to take away from him. But Trevor, you know, he tried. He was aggressive, but overly aggressive, and it became scrappy. He was putting wheels off, missing clip 3, and you know, diving in at clip 8 as well. Sorry, clip 7 as well. But you know, it's a shame really. But Liam taking a 7-3 advantage there into the next run.
So there we go. Liam Devlin takes the advantage and is now in the position to take the win as he is in the chase position.
Yeah, I mean, it's set up nicely here for Devlin to progress on to the top 16. McInerney, you know, 7-3, not the easiest of scores to try and overcome. He really needs to, you know, Devlin's going to put in a good chase run. He needs to nail that qualifying run and just hope for a big gap. And hard to force that issue, force the error from the lead position, as we so often say.
Yeah, not easy. I mean, yes, you kind of can only do what you can do out front, put down the best qualifying run you can, and just hope that the chase car makes some mistakes. But you know, we've seen what Liam Devlin can do. He's not really a man that's making a lot of mistakes this weekend, so he looks very, very strong.
No, and Devlin generally consistent as well. Doesn't look, doesn't ever make massive errors. You know, he could be beaten, but it's certainly by people just out driving them rather than him making a bundle of
An
errors.
error, yeah, exactly. So they get the thumbs up and the green light. They're good to go. It will be Trevor McInerney to lead in Liam Devlin. Liam Devlin's car looks like it's all about to fall. Oh, wow. And you know what? I thought there was an issue with Devlin's car. As he came down, it looked like an issue.
But it looks like there could be an issue with, is the exhaust falling off McInerney's car? It looked like something was definitely dragging underneath. You can just see as he switches back there, maybe not. It did look like there was something dragging underneath the car. Be interested to get a replay on that one just to watch it again. But
so, oh, okay, yeah, oh yeah, look, there it is in the middle.
yeah,
so
I know Devlin, I'd seen an exhaust from McInerney.
Devlin's car, he dropped wheels on the inside of clip 2, and that was it. And there's the exhaust. Look at this, ready? The whole exhaust falls off on the transition. Watch this, transitions. Oh, you missed it.
So what the judges will be discussing here, did something happen on the lead up that caused Liam Devlin to go off? And we just talked about his consistency and how he doesn't make big mistakes, and then
there just looked something wrong with Devlin's car for some reason. It just didn't look like it did all morning for some reason. So judges wanted to see a replay of this.
Yeah, judges looking to see a replay, looking to see another angle if possible, and still deliberating over this one as we await, of course, that 7-3 advantage from the first run.
So here we go, look, here's the run-up. Devlin initiates and then re-initiates. It looks like there's something wrong with the front of his car, potentially.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like there was anything from McInerney to cause
but
Devlin to go off.
But if Devlin... If Devlin went off first, yeah, I mean, look at that, bam. Yeah, there it is, Eddie. The scores drop in, and getting the win and going through to the top 16 is Trevor and McInerney. We go to our judges for a quick breakdown on that one.
Yeah, well, it's very obvious. Liam, went off and got. Look at the replay just to see was there any issue. Because if Trevor had slowed a little bit on clip 2, he could have caused Trevor to have to brake. But for a starter, weren't close enough for that to be an issue. And after watching it a couple of times, there was no real. We couldn't see any reason why Liam would have had to brake there. I think he just got it looked like he may have grabbed a bit of understeer as he came towards the clip 2 and went straight on.
Kieran, if it was so obvious, why did you need 4 or 5 replays?
Well, it's very obvious that he went off and got a 10-0. We just needed to know whether or not there was a reason why he went off. But Eddie, I know what you're saying,
So, just some fun in the tower.
The last battle remains in our top 32. We'll see John Shine, who is in championship contention, sits in 3rd position. It's unlikely to go to anybody other than the first 2, but he sits there 17 points behind the leader, Alan Hinds. He's coming up against Team Delta with driver Danny Waldron. So John Shine versus Danny Waldron. An interesting battle here. Probably one of the biggest cars on the grid coming up against, certainly not the smallest, but maybe the 2nd smallest.
Yeah, I mean, Danny Waldron had issues round after round this year. We've not seen the best of him yet in 2017. John Shine, like you say, he's sitting 3rd in the championship, looking very, very strong. He's going to want to try and extend that lead, and he's going to want to progress through into the Great 8, because if any of the others get knocked out, he could potentially leapfrog them and take 2nd in the championship. So
yeah, and I think at this point, he might be looking to say, okay, I'm an outsider for taking the championship, but I certainly want to finish the season in the top 3.
Yeah. Well, they're off the line. It's John Shine to lead in Danny Waldron. What have we got? John Shine looking on form this weekend, but not right now, Eddie, as he massively misses clipping point 2. Waldron right with him, though.
Yeah, Waldron really applying the pressure there and has that proximity. He's gunning down onto the door of John Shine as they switch it back onto the wall. This is looking good from Danny Waldron. Oh, but Danny makes a big error there in the chase position as they switch it back towards the finish line. So a number of errors. Judges looking for a replay on that one. Certainly not a great start from John Shine, and Danny Waldron doing a really good job in the chase, but just making a bit of an error there at the end, which may have handed some of the advantage back towards John Shine.
Yeah, John Shine completely misses clipping point 2. They're very, very wide on that first turn. Manages to get it back online for free. Waldron right with him though, sacrifices a little bit of line ever so slightly to make the dive, but it's the error for me coming into clipping point 9 from Waldron that could potentially see this score of 5-5. We're about to find out. We wait for the judges to drop their scoring.
Yes, as the roof attempts to blow off the tower.
Yep, so the scores drop in, and with a 7-3 advantage, John Shine takes that one for the first half. We go to our judges.
Yeah, I mean, John's lead, the only thing we take away from was being a little bit being off clip 2 there, but the rest of the line was good. But Danny aggressive and stayed with him all the way up to sort of clip 4, and then he started to have issues. It looked like the car started to sort of splutter and not really give him the power he wanted. He straightened up at clip 6. He straightened up again between between 8 and 9, and it was just really scrappy and not losing any kind of advantage he had, and giving it all back to John there because of his good line.
So there we go. We swap them around. It will be now Danny Waldron to lead in John Shine. John Shine sitting in that chase position with the advantage.
Yeah, and I think we've seen John Shine go really hard in the chase position all year, and I don't think we can expect to see anything different from him. Here he knows the 7-3 is easily overturned, so needs to keep that proximity, needs to have a good showing.
And look at John Shine, Eddie, tagging right on the back end of that, dealt with A86, and John Shine applying the pressure.
Oh, John Shine, massive error as he washes wide, 2 wheels off track as they come by that third clipping zone. Is Danny Waldron back in the game here? As Danny throws it down onto the wall, can he keep it pinned? John Shine doing everything he can to try and keep himself in it here, but making error after error as they cross the line. Woo. It's never over until it's over.
I thought that was going to be 4 wheels off track there for John Shine. Look at the aggression from initiation. Waldron absolutely nails this initiation, gets bang on line. And look at the aggression from Shine. Waldron dropping clipping point 2 though, kind of missed that. But look at this, is it 4 wheels? Oh, I mean, it's very close, Eddie.
It's a very definite 2, questionable as to whether or not the third wheel. I don't believe it did go off. But nonetheless, a massive error from John Shine. And you can see there again, just have to dial on the angle to avoid making contact after getting himself out of position. So it was a 7-3 advantage to John Shine. Judges still deliberating over this one. Scores starting to drop in now. Can Danny Waldron overturn this one? Could it go to a 1 more run? Could we see the first 1 more run of the competition? Well, the scores drop in, and I can reveal going through to the top 16 is no one. We're going to go 1 more run. 1 more run, 7-3 across the board to Danny Waldron. We go back to the judges. Talk us through. It's certainly a lot of errors there from John Shine on that second run.
Yeah, I mean, John was really aggressive and right on Danny's door at clip 2, but then started to wash off and dropping what we saw was 2 wheels at clip 3. So big mistake there, dropping a lot of advantage back. Danny's line from there, other than missing clip 2, wasn't too bad. But when we get round to clip 7. Danny comes off the wall fairly early, misses clip 8, and then puts a wheel over the white line coming out towards clip 9, whereas John actually sort of starts to close in. He gets back on line, and that just sort of brings it back to a 7-3 for us. So we would rather see 1 more run because of both runs being so scrappy and not really giving a clear winner.
So there we go. We have a 1 more run situation. We're just going to ask our track manager who is going to lead and who is going to chase. And we can confirm that John Shine is option to chase, Eddie. So feels that he's a stronger person in that, but he didn't prove that in that last run. So
yeah, I think the way he'd be looking at this, if I can do what I'm supposed to do, which is not drop wheels at the third clipping zone, well then I put myself in a situation where I could gain the advantage. So they make their way back to the line. You can see Danny Waldron waiting patiently. And in the distance, you could just see the roof of John Shine's car make his way back, just cooling that car down.
So yeah, no tyre changes, no working on the car whatsoever in between the battle, just straight into the one more run. And you know what, John Shine, really for me, is going to have to try and put everything he can on the line right now. If he wants to win this and keep his third place lead in the championship, Eddie, he's really, really going to have to work hard for it.
Yeah, he really is, you know, but you know he's in the chase position. It's one run. All he needs to do is just stay on track here, and you know, he certainly wasn't out run on in the battle. He wasn't left for dead pace, so just needs to look at this aggression though.
Oh, and Danny Waldron goes miles off track.
Now,
Danny Waldron goes miles off track.
Be interesting to get another look at that one, but.
Now, was there contact on initiation enough to push Danny Waldron off track? Or
that will be the big deciding factor, I think, in this one.
Wow, or was it just Danny Waldron carrying too much speed? We're about to find out. The judges requesting a replay of this.
And you can see the damage done to Danny Waldron's front bumper in the front end of that car. Hopefully there's no additional damage, because certainly took big bounces as he went off-roading there into the grass. So just waiting on that replay to see exactly what happened through that first corner. So fast through that first corner as well. Even the slightest of touches could make a massive, massive difference. But sheer aggression from John Shine.
Listen, John Shine, currently third in the championship. He knows, Eddie, that he can't go 50%, you know, to try and overturn it. He has to push hard. Look at this. Nice initiation from Waldron.
Yeah, Danny on massive angle here as well.
And look at this.
Very hard to see from that angle if there was in fact contact. I'm not so sure if there was.
I don't think there was. I don't think there was contact. I think Shine got close, but not close enough to push him.
It doesn't look like he.
No.
I certainly can't see any.
Do you know what? I don't know.
Was there contact with the driver's rear quarter?
Because you know what, Eddie? Look at this. You can see the door flex. So the door skin flexed on Waldron's car. Watch at the top of the door. Boom. See it dent in ever so slightly? John Shine made contact with Danny Waldron. I'm just putting that out there. That's my opinion. Look at this. Watch the door skin of Danny Waldron's car. Flexes in.
Tell you what, you're wasted. You're wasted.
I'm a wasted talent.
You should be solving crimes.
I'm like an FBI. Look at this.
It's very hard to tell.
You have to concentrate on Danny Waldron, the top half of Danny Waldron's door. You could just see it flex in as John Shine touches it, and there is a scuff mark on there as he passed the tower.
Yeah, I think what you have to look at here is does Danny starts to get his car, the rear of his car starts to come a little bit straight, and the rear of John's car starts to get a little bit more out of shape. So it is very possible. Again, the judges, they have to be able to see that there's clear contact.
Yeah, I mean, look at this again. Can you see Danny Waldron's car get nudged on this angle? And yeah, I mean, you can just see a little bit of movement in Waldron's car. I mean, look at the speed that he goes off as well. So judges scrutiny in this one, very, very, they're going into the depth in this one.
So our marshals will be in trouble for their flag placement.
Yeah, our sponsors' flags there, just blocking the view ever so slightly. So, if you're wondering why they're going into this so much, Eddie, you know, there's a championship on the line at the moment. John Shine currently sitting in third place. If he was to get knocked out at this stage, could potentially end his championship dreams of even beating Conor Shanahan or Alan Hinds right now.
And those scores have come in, and we will need to go back to the judges for an explanation on this one. But taking the win with a 10-0 advantage on the one more run is Team Deltwit's Danny Waldron. Team Deltwit's Danny Waldron goes through to the top 16. John Shine, our third place driver in the championship, bows out at this stage. Judges, very, very tough decision to make there.
Yeah, initially I was adamant there was no contact. I think all three of us were. But we know what Mondello is like, and for years we've been trying to judge at this track where it's difficult to see when they're coming straight towards us, and we waited for the replay, and then we started to have doubts. We've looked at 3 different camera views, and where we can't be 100%, it does look like his tyre tags the door. Now we've heard back from the drivers, and apparently this has been confirmed, but a little nudge there at that point of the track would be enough to put you offline, and that's what it looks like. You can even see as we watch the replay, the car kind of it kind of suddenly changes slightly in the direction at the point when we think it got the contact. So it does look like John been very aggressive, which is of course what we want. Just tags Daniel's door, and it is enough to put him offline, and he ends up going 10-0. So once we have to lay blame when it's a 10-0 scored. So in this case, we feel that John actually tagged Daniel and put him off.
So there you have it from the judges, and just when it looked like Danny Waldron was going to bow out of the competition, the judges go to the replay in, they scrutinise it.
And that's exactly why we got the replay.
And that's exactly it, yeah. I mean, gone are the days where we had no replays and these decisions were made, and you can just, it's almost hard to believe that judge or drifting could have been judged in the past without the use of replays, because everything happens so quickly. There's no way that you can tell exactly what's happening out on track from all the from the different positions. So Danny Waldron takes it through for Team Deltwit into the top 16. Unfortunately for John Shine, though, he bows out of the competition.
Yeah, and that is the last spot in our top 16 field, Eddie. So that means we do move it back to the other side of our bracket, where we will see the first battle of Paul Kennedy and Tomas Falvey.
Yeah, and what a top 16 we have.
I don't even know how this one's going to play out. Paul Kennedy looks very, very good, very consistent. Falvey, though, making a comeback this year. You know what? Nice, fast car. Invested quite a lot of money into it. Some big upgrades before Japfest. He said he's coming back with a vengeance, and he wants to win this round.
Yeah, the way Paul Kennedy's driving at the moment, Falvey's really going to have to be at his best here, because Kennedy just looks on song at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure he can be taken down.
No, I don't. So we wait to get the thumbs up from our drivers.
What I will say about Tomas Falvey, though, is that he will not be sitting on that line nervous. He's just, laughing, smiling, having the crack, and hard to beat a man that's, a little bit carefree like Tomas Falvey.
So they're off the line. It is Paul Kennedy to lead in Tomas Falvey to give chase, but big separation on initiation. No answer from Falvey as Kennedy absolutely fires in. Oh, wow. And Falvey goes off track, dropping wheels as Kennedy absolutely nails the qualifying line.
Yeah, Kennedy really on song here, and Falvey just overshooting it on the entry there. Judges' scores dropping in. Judges, well, the scores were dropping in, but
yeah, I mean, I think for me, I don't think Falvey. Don't think Paul Kennedy was initiating as fast as he was going to, and I think he was a little bit underestimating the car that Kennedy drives, because he fires that car in Falvey like he's trying to catch up, but completely shoots off circuit.
Yeah, I mean, he's nowhere near the second clipping zone either as they come through that section. So we just wait to see the replay. Yeah, and judges' scores are in. It is a 10-0 advantage to Paul Kennedy. No need to go to the judges on that one. You can just see Falvey goes into the gravel or into the grass, piles on the angle, and then just hits that accelerator to stop that car from going into the barriers. And seems happy enough just to limp back to the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think he kind of knows it's human error rather than a car error there for Tomas Falvey. So we get him back to the line, we swap him around. It will be Tomas Falvey to lead in Paul Kennedy.
Yeah, so Paul Kennedy sitting in the chase position now can just relax a little bit.
No, I wouldn't give him too much though if Tomas Falvey walks away with this one. But clipping cones on the chicane does Tomas Falvey as he now leads in Paul Kennedy. And Paul Kennedy, nice initiation, giving Falvey a little bit of room, but starts to make the dive now as they come into clipping point 3. Falvey on a nice line, giving Kennedy the opportunity to push up nice and close for our mobile 1.
Yeah, much better from Falvey this time around. But too little too late really, because barring a spin in the final section of the circuit here from Kennedy, it will be Paul Kennedy to go through to the top 16. Judges' scores come in 5-5 across the board in the second half of that battle, meaning Paul Kennedy progresses through to the top 8. Paul Kennedy through to the Great 8. And if you forgot how good a driver Paul Kennedy is, well, you know what?
Now you know.
You're getting a reminder today.
Yeah.
Paul Kennedy back on song, and that's exactly what we want to see. Very unfortunate, though, for Tomas Falvey and, of course, his pit crew.
Yeah, don't forget his pit crew.
Don't forget his pit crew.
Don't forget his pit crew, Eddie.
Whatever
God,
you do.
I mean, you'll be hung, drawn and quartered before the end of the day.
I'm going to be in trouble after
You'll
this.
be in trouble. There's some big guys down there. I'll be scared of them.
They're all big to me.
Well, I didn't want to say, but we're going to move it along. Chris Burnett now sits on the line. He's going to try and take down Ryan Morton, your IADC champion. Making big moves in Pro-Am.
He certainly is, yeah. These two guys qualifying 8th and 9th respectively. Burnett to lead in Morton.
And look at Ryan Morton, Eddie, right with him. Burnett fires that 180SX in, but look at Ryan Morton right with him as they come through clipping point 3. This is the kind of battles we've been looking for, but Morton drops way down on mobile 1.
He certainly does, yeah. Morton sacrificing line there and just falling a little bit back now as he tries to again gain that proximity and make the dive down the inside, but now Chris Burnett comes off his line and drops a wheel over into those white hatch markings. Not perfect from either driver, but certainly, I mean, watching them enter side by side there through that first corner.
Yeah, I mean, a huge commitment there from Ryan Morton. Look at this, fires that car in, waits for Burnett to initiate. Nice initiation, then just creeps up on the door. Absolutely good line there through clipping point 3. But Morton drops off 4, and then he's very shallow on mobile 1. Not what the judges were asking for in briefing, so that's going to hurt his score. But the judges' scores are slowly dropping him. Just watching back this replay there, just to see where people drop wheels.
So judges' scores dropping in with the advantage of 6-4. It is Ryan Morton. Judges, talk us through it.
Yeah, Chris had a good line for most of the circuit. Ryan, he was very aggressive through 1, 2 and 3, so at that point I had him 7-3 up. He transitioned out to 4. It was a little bit hesitant. There was a little bit of gap pull there, and then he kind of went in a little bit into the inside line, so that brought it back to a 5-5. But then they passed us. They got proximity again, just coming past us. But then Chris missed clip 8, and he would have maintained an advantage if he had stayed. If he got to, but he didn't. He was off it, so he dropped the point there. So he ended up with a 6-4 to Ryan Morton.
So there you go. And now Ryan Morton in that lead position. Chris Burnett in the best place to try and claw back some of those lost points, Eddie.
Chris Burnett is not used to dropping out of competition at top 16 stage. He is more familiar with Final 4s, grade 8s at least. He would not be happy to leave the competition at this stage. And of course he does sit in 5th position. 4th and 3rd in the championship are already out. But this is very important to his hopes of taking 3rd place in the championship. But Ryan Morton might have something to say about that.
Ryan Morton not on a good line though, Eddie. Dropping clips left, right and centre. Completely misses 5. Burnett keeps it on that qualifying line. No proximity really, but Burnett just doing what the judges wanted him to do as he pulls it around the final turn and across the line.
Scrappy run.
A bold statement there, Eddie.
Do you not think so?
Yeah, it was a scrappy run. I mean, for me, Morton didn't do what I expected him to do. I expected him to put down a very, very good qualifying run. It all kind of goes wrong from here. Look, misses clipping point 3, drops down on the bank, misses 4, tries to get it back onto 5, but misses that. And then, you know what, Burnett's got a hard job chasing that. It's not a clean run.
Yeah, certainly not an easy job for her. And it's said so often that a good lead run makes for an easy chase run, but a messy lead run makes it very difficult for the guy behind you, especially if he has that proximity to do a whole lot of things right. So judges' scores do come in, and taking it through to the top 16 is to the top 8 rather, Ryan Morton. Ryan Morton takes the win, 5-5 across the board for the second run. Judges, talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously Ryan's lead run was okay. It wasn't great. He wasn't quite at 3 where he needed to be, but Chris not quite as aggressive between through 1, 2 and 3 that Ryan was, so not gaining any real sort of points through there. And then it was a similar tyre from before through Mobile 1 corner, and then towards the end of the run Chris caught up a little bit, but not enough to take an advantage. But again, Ryan not putting a strong enough lead run to take an advantage, and all resting on the first run that Ryan taking the win.
So Ryan Morton takes it through to the grade 8. Those clutch issues don't seem to be plaguing him at the moment. What are the chances that he'll go final 4
and then his clutch will fail?
He'll go one more run and then his clutch will fail just at the wrong time. I mean, what are the chances?
Well, I don't want to jinx him, so
No,
we're going to move it along.
Yeah.
So we move it along, Eddie, and it is championship points leader Alan Hinds to take on Gareth Finnegan. Gareth Finnegan.
Do you know what? Gareth Finnegan took down Jason Clark. Alan Hinds needs to be at top of his game here because Finnegan, he's on form.
Whoa, well, look at this aggression from Finnegan as they fire it in to that first turn. Alan Hinds on a really, really good line, but Finnegan is right with him, and now Finnegan starts to make the dive, Eddie, into Mobile 1. They are door to door as they come round into clipping point 5. Finnegan on a really good chase line here.
Yeah,
Alan Hinds
Finnegan
making it.
Really applying the pressure, but does drop wheels there. Alan doing a solid job in that lead position in. But you know what? Gareth Finnegan really bringing the fight to him.
Yeah, you know what? Gareth Finnegan looked very good in practice. Just a shaky qualifying session for him. Alan Hinds, though, a very, very good lead run, so it made the chase driving from Finnegan very, very easy. But look at this, good proximity all the way through clipping point 3. As soon as they come into 4, Finnegan drops clipping point 4 to gain proximity, but I think the aggression is going to outweigh the line ever so slightly on this one. But a little bit of separation as they come into the wall, but he kind of gets it back again after clipping point 8.
Yeah, sacrificing clipping zones as well there for Finnegan. Judges still discussing this one, and scores are in, and it is a 5-5. So talk us through it.
Alan's lead line was pretty much inch perfect, really, on every single clip. Gareth started off extremely strong. He had excellent proximity all the way up until just coming out of Mobile 1 corner. But and up until that point, he was definitely had about a 7-3 of an advantage. But passing clipping point 6 here, he actually dropped a wheel in front of us. And from there on out, he lost the proximity that he had gained and fell back quite a bit. He also sacrificed clipping point 7 to try and make up that ground that he had lost. So those mistakes that he made in the second half of the track kind of cancelled out the advantage that he had pulled from the first half of the track, and coupled that with Alan's really strong lead line, it ends up with about a 5-5.
So there we go, Eddie, and you've just been told some news.
Well, you were told as well. Go on, I'll let you have this one.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give David Egan the shower of fame that he likes to expect, but I'd already looked at because John Shy and Dean Martin and Chris Burnett have already dropped out of competition, so has Liam Devlin. So the only people that can win the championship right now are Connor Shanahan and Alan Hinds. But
we knew that anyway.
We was told by greater powers, so David Egan giving us the information we need as we progress through the competition.
So Alan Hinds does move.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't move anywhere. He
doesn't move anywhere. He moves behind Gareth Finnegan, who's on the start line. They are ready to go as Gareth Finnegan
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Alan Hinds. So Alan Hinds now going to have to really pull his socks up and put it on the door of Finnegan if he wants to win the championship right now.
Oh!
Big dive from Alan Hinds as they come into Mobile 1. Alan Hinds pushing 110%, but Gareth Finnegan is on an incredible lead line right now. Here comes Alan Hinds, takes the rear bumper off of his car, Eddie.
Yeah, how Alan Hinds has made some of those transitions behind Gareth Finnegan. But Gareth Finnegan, who is this guy?
Who is Gareth Finnegan?
Woo!
We're about to find out who goes through.
So Garrett Finnegan in the borrowed car as well. This a new car for him this weekend. And you know what? I don't think he's going to want to be giving it back.
No, look at this. Unbelievable drive from Finnegan. What a lead run. Absolutely inch perfect. But look at Alan Hinds. Glues his Drift Games S14 to the door of that car.
And this transition here is just special. How they
Look
don't
at
make
this.
contact. Look at this. It looks like
Bam.
Alan's stuck, then bang, onto the wall.
Yeah, absolutely textbook there. Drive from both those guys. So the scores start to drop in, Eddie. And taking the win and going through to the Grade 8, we can confirm, is Alan Hinds. Alan Hinds gets the win and goes through to the Grade 8. We go to our judges.
Yeah, I mean, Alan with reasonably good chase from at the start of the run there, but not quite as close as Gareth's chase previous. But he made up a lot of the ground, just coming through Mobil 1 corner, gaining all the proximity he could, and sticking with Gareth all the way through to the end, and tagging the wall a little bit too hard, but it didn't make him falter at all. But giving him the slightest advantage just to pip the win there.
You're a hard man to please, Ryan. Just saying, you're a hard man to please. Just only.
Oh, always, yeah.
Just a reasonably good chase run.
He could do better.
Wow. Strong words from Ryan Pothecary. That is the man who said hashtag no one's a 10.
Yes.
No one's a 10.
2 8s are better than a 10, though.
So we move it along to our next battle on the line, which will be Alan McNeil to take on Joseph Roberts.
Yeah, and this a very interesting battle. This is an all former IADC battle, I suppose. And hard to pick a winner in this one. Oh, do we have a false start, or is there an issue with Joseph Roberts' car?
Well, Alan McNeil carries on the run regardless.
Yes, we are just waiting to hear from the marshals on that one. We're not sure exactly what happened there.
Yeah, Joseph Roberts shuts it down as soon as they come through the start line, so not sure how that one's going to play. So we are just waiting. Does Joseph Roberts feel like he was drag raced off the line? A jump start maybe?
So you can see we do have a traffic light system in play there. The light remains red until the drivers are ready to go. So was it a jump off the start line? Our marshal will radio back up to our marshals in the tower. You just see the light goes green, and
no, I mean they both move at the same time.
It does look as though the marshals' orders were given. Both cars move off the line at the same time. Joseph Roberts. So we await the information that we require to keep you guys updated on what exactly is happening here, but it does look from our point of view like both drivers. So we're hearing that Joseph Roberts thought it was a false start, but there are in fact no false starts with this system, and of course the light was green, as you could see from the replay.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? Joseph Roberts was already moving, so if it was a false start, he should have stayed where he was.
Exactly,
but unfortunately, Joseph Roberts crossed the start line, so it will be a 10-0 advantage to Alan McNeil.
Not the start to the top 16 that Joseph Roberts would have been looking for.
No, exactly. So now Joseph Roberts in that lead position. And Alan McNeil to give chase. So they get the thumbs up from our start line marshal. They're off the line. We are good to go. It will be Joseph Roberts to lead in Alan McNeil.
Yeah, Roberts to lead them in now. McNeil with the 10-0 advantage. He knows he can hold back just a little bit here. Big straighten from Roberts. And he was having clutch problems in this car yesterday evening, and I wonder if that's a resurface of the issue here. But it looks as though barring and I think that pretty much seals the deal. A second 10-0 to Alan McNeil means Alan McNeil will progress through to the Grade 8, and unfortunately for Joe Roberts, that will be the end of his weekend. So Joe Roberts bows out of competition at top 16.
Yeah, we move it along to the other side of our bracket, where we will see Richie T to take on Jordan Boyce.
And you know what? We said Richie T, and we didn't think he stood much of a chance against Danny O'Callaghan, and he absolutely blitzed them. We didn't think Jordan Boyce had much of a chance against Caldwell because of the machinery, and he blitzed them.
This is going to be an interesting battle. Both these guys, you know what, they didn't qualify very, very high. Boyce in 15th position, Tian in 31st, but their driving, Eddie, is on point today.
It certainly is, and I'm not going to try and pick a winner on this one. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. Boyce to lead in Tian. They slam it through the gears. They appear up over the brow of the hill, and they fire through that first corner. Big entry there from Jordan Boyce as he starts to pull a gap, but drops a wheel. Now, can he keep it on the track? He certainly can, but Richie T makes a big dive and then a big straighten as the errors start to creep into the run for him. But Jordan Boyce, big angle onto the wall as he tags it. And is there anything that can stop this young man right now, as he looks very, very comfortable in that Power Max Engineering Ford Sierra?
Yeah, huge error there from Tian. You know what? Jordan Boyce throws that car on initiation, absolutely flat to the floorboards. Richie Tian doesn't really, try and bring a fight after clipping point 2. Look at this. Just drops a wheel. Jordan Boyce doesn't manage to get as far out onto clipping point 4 as what the judges want to see, but that big straighten there and a reinitiation from Richie Tian's going to see him lose massive points in this battle, as Jordan Boyce just runs the wall enough just to lift the boot lid on that Sierra. Yeah, judges' scores dropping in, and it is across the board, a 9-1 in favour of Jordan Boyce. We go to the judges for a quick explanation.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan's lead, the only thing we could take off Jordan's lead was the tiny little wheel drop at 3, but other than that, he was really on it and really pushing hard. Richie just no proximity, making plenty of mistakes, missing clip 3, straightening in mobile 1 corner, straightening again right in front of us here at clip 6. It was just, it wasn't a good chase run at all. So 9-1 advantage to Jordan going into the next run.
So Jordan Boyce heads back to the start line with that 9-run advantage. We switch them around. Tian will lead them in this time around, and you have to feel like he is up against it. But you know what? He's come through Danny O'Callaghan just when we thought that he was going to be bowing out of the competition, and he just makes it work. Can he make it work against Jordan Boyce? He needs to do something special.
Here we go, Eddie. They are off the line. It's Richie Tian to lead in Jordan Boyce. Jordan Boyce nice and close on initiation. And Tian, no angle on initiation. Jordan Boyce now starts to make the dive as they come into over 1. Oh!
Big error from both drivers there. Was that caused by Tian, or was it just an error from Boyce? Also, both drivers managing to keep the shoe in and keep it going. Judges, you can imagine, will be wanting a second look at that one. Almost a huge error. Well, it was a huge error, but almost off track there from both drivers.
Yeah, you know what? For me, Eddie, Jordan Boyce would have been following Richie Tian's line. Tian way wide into clipping point 4, carrying too much speed. Look, I mean, very shallow coming through clipping point 2. Dials on the angle at 3, and then absolutely fires that car through 4 and drops wheels. Boyce would have been following that line, so he's naturally going to be going off. Just depends how the judges score that.
Yeah, just for me it did look like Jordan Boyce shot forward very quickly there and had to dial on the angle to kind of back out of it just a little bit. But
the scores are dropped in, Eddie, and with the advantage taking the second half of that run, Jordan Boyce gets the win, ladies and gentlemen, and advances through to our Grade 8. We go over to our judges.
Jordan really aggressive through the first 3 clips and at the transition. Richie, as he comes past slip 4, heading out towards 5, he drops one wheel off, and Jordan, even though he wasn't close to him at that point, also drops wheels and he goes off as well. So they both make a similar error there. I think maybe, in my opinion, Jordan's error was a little bit bigger. But from the rest of the run is irrelevant from there on because they finished the course. But I side on a 5-5 on that. I think Kevin the same, and Ryan was like a slight advantage, 6-4 to Jordan. But it was all on the first run really.
So there you go. Jordan Boyce progresses through to the Grade 8. The weekend continues for him. We move it on. It will be Ian Galvin taking on Francis O'Shea. This is the first battle we will see Ian Galvin contending this weekend. Francis O'Shea, though, has been looking very strong.
Yeah, Francis O'Shea seems to be carrying like a serious momentum this weekend. Looks like the car's working again with this track. Ian Galvin, we haven't seen him battle yet, so we're about to find out what Ian Galvin's got as he leads in Francis O'Shea for a place in the Great 8. And a nice fast initiation from Galvin. Galvin dropping very, very wide. Both cars almost dropping wheels on the inside there, but Galvin way down on the inside of that corner of Mobile 1. Now Francis O'Shea starts to apply the pressure. A very scrappy chase from Francis O'Shea. Wow! And what happened there from Ian Galvin?
Ian Galvin completely backing out of the run altogether there. And you know what, Ian? Not the run we were expecting up to that. Very poor from both drivers, really.
Yeah, I mean, kind of scrappy from Francis O'Shea. It looks good from initiation. Both these guys look absolutely planted. You can see Galvin absolutely throw this down. Francis O'Shea dials on big angle to try and slow that car down. Both drivers dropping wheels. Ian Galvin drops down into the middle of the circuit on Mobile 1. And then Francis O'Shea here starts to make a load of errors. A little straighten, comes off a clipping point 6, very strange. But Galvin runs the wall and then kind of puts himself into a spin. So the scores drop in, and it will be a 10-0 advantage to Francis O'Shea. No need to go to the judges for that one, Eddie. A spin and off circuit is a 0.
Yes, a spin and off circuit, as you mentioned. 4 wheels off track, Ian Galvin. You know, be interested to see where that one would have been in terms of advantage and disadvantage had they finished it. It certainly wasn't the perfect run from either driver, and they will be hoping for much better on the second half of this battle, as will we.
So we get them back to the start line and swap them around.
Quick mention, as always, to our sponsors: Stone Motorsport, Origin Labo, Achilles Radial, Westlake Tyres, MixGarage.com, Brian James Trailers, Zestino Tyres UK, JDM Distro, VP Racing Fuel, Samco Sport, Monster Energy, The Detailing Shed, and of course Link Engine Management.
So let me get the thumbs up from Francis O'Shea and Ian Galvin. They get the green light, they're good to go. It's Francis O'Shea to lead in Ian Galvin. Galvin going to have to try and work really hard here, and he initiates very early. Almost makes contact with Francis O'Shea there.
Galvin looked like he was almost going to make the overtake down the inside there with the aggression that he was showing, but had to back out of it. And now just suffering the consequences of it because his line is completely off. And it looks as though Francis O'Shea will be taking it through to the Great 8.
So judges want to see a replay of that one, Eddie. Not convinced. So they just want to see a little replay. Looks like maybe they're scrutinising Francis O'Shea's initiation, but no, keeps in it, you know. And Ian Galvin just gets it way wrong on initiation. Tries to do an overtake.
So judges' score is starting to drop in, and of course it is worth mentioning that it was a 10-0 on the first half of the battle, 6-4 in favour of Francis O'Shea on the second half, meaning Francis O'Shea takes it through to the Great 8. Francis O'Shea through to the Great 8. That leaves in 2 more battles in our top 16. The first of those will be Stuart Gilmore taking on Conor Shanahan. Then we'll see Trevor McInerney taking on Danny Waldron. You just see Francis and Ian having a quick chat to each other.
Francis O'Shea doing the international sign for, I was on the wall, I wasn't on the wall, you nearly hit my door.
I was drifting.
I was drifting, you was drifting, it was very close, we nearly crashed. So, Eddie.
Yes, Ian.
Big one now.
Yeah, this is essentially, you know, I mean, if Conor Shanahan doesn't win this battle, Alan Hinds can put his feet up for the afternoon, as he will take the championship. If Conor Shanahan wins this battle, he's guaranteed a pro license. I think he's guaranteed a pro license regardless. But if Stuart Gilmore beats Conor Shanahan, he could now get a pro license. So a lot on the line here for Stuart Gilmore, a lot on the line here for Conor Shanahan. Neither of these two drivers will be wanting to lose this battle and go home at this stage of the competition. They are going to be pushing to their absolute limits.
Yeah, and you know what? Connor Shanahan is about to take on a very on-form Stuart Gilmore as they come down the straight. Gilmore fires that car in, but look at Connor Shanahan right with him as they come through that first turn. Gilmore on a very good line. Shanahan transitions very, very early to try and get the proximity, but a little bit of distance between these guys as they come off of Mobile 1. Gilmore looking absolutely perfect. Shanahan makes a big dive onto the door of Gilmore's S13 pickup, and Connor Shanahan all the way to the door with Gilmore across the line. So, Eddie, we wait for the scores to drop in.
Yes, and taking the advantage on that one is Connor Shanahan, 7.7 to 2.3. So we go to the judges just to talk us through that first run. Judges, big advantage there to Connor Shanahan.
Really good lead line there by Stuart on the qualifying line pretty much the whole way through. Could have been a fraction deeper on a couple of clips, but overall really good. But Connor's chase run was absolutely fantastic. Started off on Stuart's door and finished it up that way as well. Fantastic proximity the whole way throughout, and actually maintained the qualifying line while staying on Stuart's door. So I scored at a 7.5 advantage to Connor going into the second run, and it was fairly close. Both of the other judges scored similar as well, so strong advantage to Connor going into the second run.
So there you go, Connor Shanahan with the advantage, but now Gilmore sitting in the place where he'd like to be to claw those points back. He's in chase position. Connor Shanahan going to need to put down the lead run of his life right now to keep that championship alive. So we are good to go. They get the green light, Eddie. It's Connor Shanahan to lead in Stuart Gilmore. Stuart Gilmore going to want that pro license, and he's going to want to take down Connor Shanahan as they fire it in on the first turn. Oh! Connor Shanahan's car understeers ever so slightly.
Yeah, but he gets it back dialed, and you can just see Gilmore. Oh,
Shanahan's car, Eddie, does not sound good at all, as Gilmore's right with him.
Yeah, Gilmore pulling it back, but Shanahan making it work and getting himself across the line. But is there problems with Shanahan's car?
Yeah, massive problems with Shanahan's car, not making the usual amount of Westlake tyre smoke that we seen from that car. Look at this, fires it in, Gilmore fires it in too, a little bit of separation though. But Connor Shanahan, look at this, Eddie, not really making all the power that it should be making. You can see it's way down.
Look like it has the steam that it usually runs on, and worrying times here now for Connor Shanahan.
I mean, was Gilmore's chase enough to overturn those points? We're about to find out. Judges' scores start to fall in.
It was a sizable advantage that Connor held going into the second half of that battle. We await those judges' scores to drop in. Who is going to progress through to the grade 8? And I can't reveal with the slightest of margins, with a 10.5 advantage to 9.5, taking it through to the grade 8 is Connor Shanahan. Connor Shanahan takes it through to the grade 8. The dream is still alive for the youngster, and so unfortunate for Stuart Gilmore. He bows out of the competition. Judges, we got to go back to you because that one was pretty close.
That was very, very close. Stuart chased, but Connor obviously you could hear it as having an issue. No, he got out to 3 fine and transitioned and ran the course. You know, pretty much he was maybe came away from 5 a little bit early. This is where the horsepower was starting to show, I say. Stuart chased him really well. The only error I saw is as he left 3 a bit early, it transitioned a lot earlier than Connor did and lost a little bit of proximity. He was able to close back in again near the end, so that was the only difference that I seen between the run before it. So if Connor had a slightly better line throughout the course, he would have clearly, you know, he would have come away with less of a disadvantage with that chase. But he just barely squeezed through. I scored that one as 7-3 to Jordan. To Stuart, and I won 7.5 with the one before, so it was that close.
So there you go. splitting hairs.
Yeah, I mean, very, very close for those guys. And you know what, Eddie, the championship for Conor Shanahan still alive. Could we see an Alan Hinds, Conor Shanahan in the final? I mean, Alan Hinds needs to finish first or second to win the championship. But if Conor Shanahan wants to win the championship, he has to win this round, and Alan Hinds has to bow out fourth place, basically. So, I mean, it's going to be very close at the top.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is the fact that Shanahan's car appears not to be. Shanahan's car just appears to be having issues, and I think that could be.
Yeah, apparently we're getting a few words that Conor Shanahan's car isn't 110%.
Yeah,
so
that is not what we want to see. We want to see these guys fighting tooth and nail. But of course, if Alan Hinds does get to the final, none of that will be relevant anyway. So next off the line will be Trevor McInerney and Danny Waldron. Waldron, as the higher qualifier, will lead them in.
Yeah, Waldron getting that lucky turn against John Shine earlier on in competition. Now he faces Trevor McInerney. McInerney looking good. What has Waldron got as they come down through the gears? Oh, and Waldron shuts it down.
Yeah, Danny Waldron shuts it down and heads into the pits. And we await to get
confirmation on that one. But Eddie, the scores will drop in. That will be a 10-0 advantage to Trevor. Trevor, you know what, for Danny Waldron, the gremlins just keep coming. Unfortunate times there for Danny Waldron.
Yeah, very unfortunate there, and certainly Trevor McInerney getting the rub of the green today. That's two drivers giving him a 10-0, or losing a 10-0 advantage to him, and he heads back up to the pits, or to the start line, as we await just to hear whether or not Danny Waldron will be continuing with the competition, or will he bow out. Hopefully it's nothing too serious and this car can be sorted. It looked as though he told Colin Carberry that he was heading back to the line. That's where Colin Carberry pointed. So it's a fueling problem and he's heading back to the line. So
wow, so
Danny Waldron not needing to call the 5-minute rule. So there you go, Danny just maybe just on the radios to his
pit
spotters.
crew.
Yeah, you can just see Will Creighton there, his team mechanic, just doing the international symbol for
what's up,
what's going on. Hands in the air like you just don't care. And Danny Waldron, yeah, you can just hear that car.
That car's not happy.
No,
yeah.
it's spluttering as it goes back to the start line. So Trevor McInerney with that 10-0 advantage and another rub of the green, he's going to be in that lead position. He won't mind.
No, you know what, for Trevor, really, right now, he just needs to put down a good lead run. I mean, I don't know if there's no real way that Danny can overturn that 10-0 deficit, especially in that chase position. So
yeah, there's plenty of days when luck goes against you in drifting, so on the days when it comes your way, you just sit back and accept
take it, yeah.
Lap it up. So we are good to go. Marshal's orders. Both drivers on the line. McInerney to lead in Waldron, and Waldron needs to pull something special out of the bag and just hope that his fueling issue can be put to bed for the rest of this run. No such problems this time around as he throws that car in behind McInerney. Nice wide line there from Danny Waldron.
Yeah, McInerney on a really good line.
And a big straighten from Waldron as he shuts it down.
Yeah.
Danny Waldron shuts it down. So unfortunate. So unfortunate. Of course, Danny representing the team, the Devlin team. He's the team boss there. They have all their apparel on the stand. The scores come in a 10-0 advantage again to Trevor McInerney. No need to go to the judges on that one. It's pretty clear cut, and unfortunately for Waldron, that will be the end of his 2017 season. McInerney, though, the dream weekend continues as he progresses into the Great 8.
So that is the last person to fill the spot in a Great 8. We move it along to the first battle of our Great 8, which will be Paul Kennedy to take on Ryan Morton. This one, Eddie, we looked at this earlier on when it popped up and we was like, God, you know what, this could go anyway.
It certainly could, and I mean, on another day, you'd say
Morton.
But Paul Kennedy is showing the Paul Kennedy that
He's just so aggressive.
Yeah, I think if you go back to Global Warfare, one of the first, I believe it was the first Global Warfare, when we ran that really, really dangerous layout, and Paul Kennedy, the wall runs that he ran, and we expected to see that level of driving form from him from then on in, and he just hasn't reproduced it consistently. But look at this. Big angle from both drivers as they throw it through the first corner in.
Yeah, big aggression from Morton there, almost tagging the back end of Kennedy's E36. Kennedy drops one wheel but keeps it on circuit. Now Morton starts to gain that proximity back as they fire their cars on the wall. Kennedy on the perfect wall run, but drops wheels.
Kennedy drops wheels and then has to back out of the run to avoid making contact with the wall.
Wow, Eddie, not what I expected to see from Paul Kennedy there, and judges wanting to see a replay of this one. The aggression from Ryan Morton on initiation, it looked like he was going to push Paul Kennedy through the first corner. Look at this, unbelievable.
Yeah, and look how sideways Ryan gets.
Neither of them. So neither of these guys have ever got this far in Irish Drift Championship competition, Eddie. So, I mean, both these guys want to get in the top 4, but look at that, completely goes off track, does Paul Kennedy.
Yeah, big error there for Paul Kennedy. It just goes to show the respect that he has for Ryan Morton, that he knows he has to push that hard. Judges' scores drop in, not quite a 10-0, but a 9-1 across the board. Quickly to the judges, pretty clear cut, but just talk us through the decision there.
Yeah, Ryan on initiation there making a bit of a mistake. I think being a little bit overly aggressive. At that stage, then from there on he missed clip 3 as well. He was at a slight deficit up until that point, but then Paul making several mistakes after that, dropping a wheel between clipping point 4 and 5, and then dropping 2 wheels, then passing between clipping point 7 and 8, and having to straighten up and reinitiate the drift. So massive mistakes from Paul, especially compared to Ryan's minor mistakes. So that's a 9-1 advantage to Ryan going into the second run.
So there we go, Ryan Morton with the advantage, and now Ryan Morton in lead position. So Paul Kennedy, I mean, if he's going to try and claw some points back, this is the best place for him to be. Those guys get the thumbs up, Eddie. We wait for the green light, it's good to go. It will be Ryan Morton to lead in Paul Kennedy. Paul Kennedy, first place qualifier, going to want to be looking to go to that top 4 as they come over the hill. Look at this, Kennedy right on the back end of Morton's R32.
Oh, a big straight from Kennedy, and Kennedy needs something really special from here if he's going to pull this out of the bag and overturn it. Because Morton is nailing that lead line here, but look at the proximity here from Kennedy as he throws everything but the kitchen sink at Ryan Morton. They transition side by side onto the wall. This is incredible stuff. Kennedy doing everything, but you know what? Morton has one of the coolest heads on the grid, and he takes it over the line. I'm not sure that will be enough. The judges' scores drop in. Kennedy takes the advantage on the second run, but taking it through to the final 4 is Ryan Morton. Ryan Morton takes the win, but guys, give us a round of applause for Paul Kennedy. He has put on one hell of a show here this weekend. And back to the judges.
Yeah, I mean, Paul there, great chase. He stuck to Ryan all the way through there. It was good to see, but just not quite enough to overturn that 9-1 advantage from the first run. But fair play there.
So there we go. Ryan Morton gets the winner, goes through. First person in our top 4, Eddie. Now we move it along to a championship battle right now. Alan Hinds sits on the line, ready to lead in Alan McNeil for a place in the top 4. You heard what we said earlier. Alan Hinds needs to finish first or second to win the championship.
Of course, depending on where Conor Shanahan finishes also.
Yeah, I mean, Conor Shanahan needs to win it. So we move it off the line. It is Alan Hinds to lead in Alan McNeil for a place in the top 4.
Oh, massive angle from Alan Hinds.
Huge initiation. Alan McNeil's right with him though.
Oh, look at the dive from Alan McNeil.
Alan McNeil nearly comes to a straight and keeps that car going with a big clutch kick and a nice transition as they come to the wall. Alan Hinds absolutely perfect. McNeil starts to lose a little bit of proximity now. He needs to get it back. He tries to dive on the door before they get to the line. Wow.
Yeah, Alan Hinds just has that incredible consistency. Very rarely deviates from that line, and just he's almost machine-like. dare I say it. But Alan McNeil doing a very good job in the chase position also. And look at that big dive down the inside from Alan McNeil.
So we wait for the scores to drop in. Judges still discussing this one, Eddie.
So as we wait for the scores to come in, just I suppose at this point we can officially say that gaining a pro license for next season will be John Shine, Chris Burnett and Liam Devlin taking 3rd, 4th and 5th position respectively in the championship. 1st or 2nd yet to be decided. It will be either Alan Hinds or Conor Shanahan taking the championship. We can confirm though that taking an advantage on this battle is Alan Hinds, 5.5 to 4.5. Quick explanation from the judges before we send the second half of this battle.
Fantastic lead down there by Hinds, really on the every clipping point there, has the qualifying line dialed into T. McNeil was very aggressive, but he was making mistakes in the chase run. He missed clipping point 3, and then coming into just passing clipping point 4, he had a fairly sizable straighten as well. He did maintain that proximity on Hinds for the majority of the track, but then passing clipping point 7, he actually cut the track to maintain that proximity between 7 and 8. So while he did have a very aggressive chase run and did have good proximity, he was making a lot of mistakes behind Hinds. So couple that with Hinds' fantastic lead line, I scored that at just a bare 5.5 advantage to Hinds going into the second run, but it's all to play for.
So Alan McNeil is behind enemy Hinds. I fucked that up.
Yeah, you got that very, very wrong there, Eddie. But we go back to the start line where we do see Alan McNeil now to lead in Alan Hinds. Alan Hinds going to really, I mean, I keep saying this about Alan McNeil to lead in Alan Hinds. And Alan McNeil, Alan Hinds now starts to make the dive. Both guys absolutely dropping clipping point 4, but Alan Hinds not got that proximity that the judges wanted to see, and McNeil starts to walk away with this one. Hinds needs, a drop in wheels is Alan McNeil as they come round the final turn and across the finish line, Eddie.
A very, very interesting second half of this battle.
Yeah, I mean, I expected more from Alan Hinds. Alan Hinds, look, a good aggression on the start, but loses massive amounts of distance as McNeil fires that car in. Now, could McNeil take down your championship points leader right now? I'm uncertain of Alan Hinds' future right now.
Yeah, I mean, not looking good. I think his only saving grace here could be this massive error to, well, one wheel, but a big, big correction there from Alan McNeil. Certainly not one I'd like to be a judge on. And they continue to deliberate over this one, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. It's a big mistake from McNeil coming off of that wall. You know, it means he was kind of offline ever so slightly. Was that how he gained an advantage? Is that how he gained the distance away from Alan Hinds? They're still discussing this one. You know, they know the championship is in it. If Alan Hinds bows out now and Conor Shanahan goes through, does he take the championship? So if Alan Hinds bows out of competition now and Conor Shanahan goes through, he would have to be 3rd or above to win it. Who goes through to the final 4? We're about to find out as the scores drop in, Eddie. Going through is nobody. They're going one more run. We're going to see him go again. Judges not being able to split it. We go over to our judges quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Hinds didn't really have enough proximity throughout there to really take any advantage. But I mean, McNeil could have capitalised on it as well. But he made several small mistakes. He was off clipping point 4. He put a wheel off between 7 and 8, and just overrun the white line just coming out towards clip 9 as well. So that kind of brought it back to calling it even across the 2 runs, and not enough to split them. So we're going to have to see it go again.
So there we go. Those will drop there from Alan McNeil, just enough to overturn it ever so slightly.
Yeah, so they bring it back up to the start line, and of course they cannot change their tyres in between the first 2 battles and the one more run. They have to run it as they brung it.
So just trying to find out So Alan Hinds has decided, being the higher qualifier, that he wants to chase Alan McNeil.
Which is an interesting choice here, because it looked like he was stuck for pace there against Alan McNeil.
Yeah, I mean, well, going back to the scores from that battle, it was a 5.5, 4.5 to Alan McNeil. So Alan Hinds not looking strong in that chase position. So, but you know what? Does he think that if he goes in lead position, Alan McNeil puts it on the door, he overturns the win? It could go either way. We're about to find out. We're getting Alan Hinds back to the start line.
I think, yeah, you know, it's the main factor that makes that one more run so interesting, in that the higher qualifier has that decision to make. And essentially, they are the master of their own fate, because you make the wrong decision, and you know, you can open the door for your opponent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could, say the wrong decision, decide to lead instead of chase, or chase instead of lead, and yeah, you've thrown your whole weekend away, and it was only you that made that decision. So,
yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10, you want to be in the chase position, because that's where it's easiest to gain the points. But if the driver in front of you puts in a stomper of a lead run and runs and pulls away from you, well, what can you do? And that seemed to be what happened on the first half of the battle. But here we go. We are about to find out. Hinds all over the rear bumper. Very aggressive on entry here, but McNeil starts to pull a very slight gap here as they switch it back. McNeil comes very shallow, as does Hinds. But Hinds just not able to keep with McNeil.
No, McNeil absolutely firing that SR20 powered Corolla to the wall. Alan Hinds has no answer, deviates off line, drops wheels there on the inside of the track. Oh, and he's very, very shallow across the finish line. Do you know what, Eddie? In my opinion, that is the nail in the coffin for Alan Hinds right there.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree there. I think Alan McNeil definitely seems to have done enough, but we are not judges, and we do not have the right to make the decision. Judges checking out the replay, they want to see it one more time.
Yeah, I mean, I could just hear Ryan Pothkerry breaking this down, discussing it with Kevin O'Connell and Kieran Hinds. You know, McNeil not got the best lead run, but, you know, after clipping point 2, he drops 3, ever so slightly, drops 4 massively, drops 5. So I'm not sure how this could go, but the scores have started to drop in, Eddie.
Yes, scores dropping in, and we can reveal by the very slightest of margins, taking it through to the final 4 is Alan McNeil. Alan McNeil takes it through to the final 4. We got to go back to it and hear it from the judges. Very close between those two on that one more run.
Realistically, that run really comes down to proximity. Unfortunately, Hinds just didn't have the legs, and McNeil. Both drivers running very similar lines. McNeil and Hinds both missing clipping point 4. Coming into Mobile 1 corner, and other than that, had fairly good qualifying lines, but unfortunately it just all comes down to proximity. McNeil making some mistakes, but just pulled the gap on Hinds, and was enough to take the win overall.
So, sorry for the pause in commentary right there. Just getting some word off David Egan. So, word is Conor Shanahan's engine in his car is toast, Eddie. It's done. But he needs to finish inside the top 3 to win the championship. Now, can Conor Shanahan's engine keep going for the rest of this competition and get him a 3rd place or better to take the championship? Alan Hinds' championship now hangs in the balance of Conor Shanahan's engine. We're going to move it back to the start line for the next battle, which will be Joe Boyce to take on Francis O'Shea. Francis O'Shea to lead in Joe Boyce for a place in the final 4. Things are heating up here at IDC Pro-Am final, and the rain looks imminent.
Yes, it certainly does. You know, it's a cold, windy day here in Mondello Park, and as you say, that rain looks imminent, but you know what? At the moment, it's dry. Could be wet for the final, but those two guys won't be thinking about that just yet. Big error there from Francis O'Shea.
Francis O'Shea drops a wheel. Looks like he took some damage on the car. Ever so slightly there. Joe Boyce gains that little bit of lost ground. Now starts to rein in Francis O'Shea as they bring it to clipping point 8. Round that final turn and to the wall. Not sure what happened there for Francis O'Shea. Both of those guys come off the line very, very quick. Francis O'Shea fires that car in Joe Boyce right with him. Now Francis O'Shea goes very, very deep. Yeah, drops a wheel, upsets the car, makes him transition, completely misses 4 and straightens. So Francis O'Shea now not sitting in the best position, in my opinion, in points-wise, but we wait for the judges' scores to drop in. So the scores drop in, and with a sizable advantage, Joe Boyce takes the advantage. We go to our judges.
Yeah, Francis was strong through 1, 2 and 3. Jordan was there or thereabouts. But then Francis seems to drop a wheel at 3, and then he transitions in the wrong place. Puts him in, he can't get out to 4. And he has a big straight, and then after that, Jordan does well. He transitions, gets out to 4. So at the point where it might have been like, maybe slight advantage to Jordan at that stage. After that mistake, it was a really big advantage to Jordan, and he maintained that for the rest of the run. So he's sitting on a 7-3 at the moment.
So Joe Boyce sitting with a 7-3 to 2.7 advantage against Francis O'Shea, but Francis O'Shea not on the start line behind Jordan Boyce. I can just see him coming in the background. Oh, he's just removing body panels, Eddie.
Yeah, trying to make it lighter so that he has the extra pace behind Jordan Boyce, so that he can go door to door. It's standard enough procedure.
So Smokin' Joe flicks on his wipers. I don't know if it's starting to rain down there or not, Eddie, but it does look imminent as they head off the line. It is Joe Boyce to lead in Francis O'Shea, and they come firing down. Jordan Boyce fires at Sierra.
The angle
big
from Jordan
angle.
Boyce.
And an absolutely perfect line. Just drops a wheel but gets it back. Now Francis O'Shea absolutely nailing the S15 to the side of Jordan Boyce's Sierra. As Francis O'Shea drops wheels in the middle of the circuit, Jordan Boyce looking like an unstoppable force this weekend. As he transitions round the final turn, they are door to door across the line.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a sign of how safe the future of Irish and European drifting is, because this young man is just incredible behind the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal
Look at
initiation.
the angle through
Look at
that first corner. Boot comes up just to slow him down a little bit.
Yeah, Francis O'Shea gains back a little bit of an advantage in my eyes when he starts to rein Joe Boyce in, but then loses it massively when he drops wheels in the centre of the circuit. So
Yeah, massive dirt drop there. He was way off. We've seen drivers go wide there and drop just wheels onto the, over the line, but there's a good gap there between the actual line and the grass. The judges' scores are in, and I can reveal, taking it through to the final 4 is Jordan Boyce. Jordan Boyce takes it through to the final 4. We go to the judges for an explanation.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan's lead was real good, other than a slight wheel drop at 3, but it didn't put him offline. It didn't put him into any bad positions. He carried on strong all the way through to the end. Francis did chase fairly hard after that. He wasn't close enough from 1, 2, 3, but after that he did gain in. But he put nearly 3 wheels off at clip 6 here, and it was a bit of a scrappy chase after that. So calling it even on a 5-5, and Jordan taking the win from the first run there.
So we head to the start line for an unpredictable battle right now. It is Connor Shanahan to take on Trevor McInerney. Shanahan with the damaged engine. He needs to finish top 3 or higher, Eddie, to take the championship from Alan Hinds.
Yeah, 4 or lower is not good enough for Connor Shanahan here. We don't know if this engine can even last a run, let alone all the way to the final.
We're about to
battles
find
of the
out
day.
though, as Shanahan fires it in. It looks to be working perfect right now though, as Trevor McInerney fires it.
Yeah, Trevor McInerney making a massive error there as he came into the Mobile 1 section, getting all out of shape. Shanahan.
Absolutely perfect wall run there from Shanahan. And you know what, Eddie? That car looks to be holding together right now. Just a couple more battles in the bag for Shanahan, and he has done it. So, judges wanting to see a replay of that one. McInerney making a huge error coming into clipping point 4. The car straightens, almost fires him into the gravel. Shanahan looks, you know what, he just looks like Shanahan.
Just
dialed, consistent, calm, and look at that big error there from McInerney.
Yeah, just looking.
Look at Shanahan, absolutely, textbook, absolutely textbook.
I mean, how often do the Shanahans arrive to the track and they're blitzing it, and then all of a sudden you hear rumours that there's a mechanical issue, but they just always find a way to make it work. The scores are in, and I can reveal, taking an advantage 8-2 into the second half of this battle is Conor Shanahan. Judges, talk us through it.
Quite a strong lead run there by Conor, really on the qualifying line the whole way through it. Trevor started strong, but he dropped off to proximity after clipping point 2, and then had a massive mistake then passing clipping point 4, where he kind of went into the corner too fast and then had a massive straighten and had to back out of it again. Lost all proximity from there on in, and Conor just drove away from him really. Strong A2 advantage going into the second run for Conor.
So Conor Shanahan's engine holding up at the moment, and you know what, if I was that engine and I had John Shanahan wielding a hammer at me, I would stay working too.
Yeah, not a good place to be right now is that engine for Conor Shanahan, but they're back on the line. It is Trevor McInerney to lead in Conor Shanahan for the second half of this battle for the final place in the top 4. Who is going to take it? We get the thumbs up from our drivers. They get the green light, Eddie. This is the last run in the Grade A, and a place in the top 4 is imminent for one of these guys. Who's it going to be? As they fire it down, Shanahan initiates before McInerney. McInerney keeps it absolutely dialed though on a very, very good line. And look at Shanahan tagging on the back end. McInerney starts falling offline ever so slightly now. Shanahan keeps it going, as Shanahan now dials his car onto the wall and onto the back end of McInerney's PS13. They come round the final turn. A big error there from McInerney as they bring it across the line.
Yeah, McInerney doing all he can, but the scores drop in, and Shanahan takes it through to the final 4. 6-4 advantage on the second run, 8-2 on the first run. We go to the judges.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good chase from Conor there. Okay lead. It wasn't nothing that we could take away from Trevor, but Conor chased real well, kept proximity in, and ended on a 6-4 advantage. Obviously taking a strong advantage overall for the 2 runs.
So there we go. So that seals Conor Shanahan's fate for this weekend. He is now into the pro class tomorrow. Eddie will see him in the big show. That also kind of seals his deal to try and win that Super Series, which he needed to do. He needed to get in that top 4 to be able to battle through tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that was the real all-important thing there, because he obviously has this title that he wants to fight for, but the Super Series, he needed to qualify into it. He was able to compete in the BDC because he was a pro driver in that class, so he had to fight his way into it in the Irish Championship in order to score in the actual Super Series. So Shanahan takes it through to the final 4. He will be coming up against Jordan Boyce in a repeat of a battle that we saw over in BDC only just a few weeks ago. Ryan Morton, though, will be coming up against Alan McNeil in the first of our final 4 battles. McNeil is the higher qualifier, and he will lead them in. So Morton started the day wondering if his clutch would last long enough to get him through qualifying.
Now he's battling for a place in the final right now, Eddie.
Yeah, and rain beginning to threaten here in Mondello Park, so could it be the end of the day that Ryan Morton was looking for?
As they fire in, McNeil on a really good line. Morton not real any proximity as he drops down off clipping point 4. He's on a shallow line coming through Mobile 1 corner. Now McNeil absolutely bringing the pace. Morton absolutely slows that car down on the handbrake on the wall, loses a load of pace.
Yeah, Morton dialed on far too much angle there as they came onto that second wall clipping zone, and just it took his car completely offline, and he lost proximity as a result. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely brilliant lead run there from McNeil. Look, fires it in, very, very good line. Just drops clipping point 4 though, catches the edge of that clipping point box with the rear wheel, but doesn't get all the way into it like the judges wanted to see. But Morton, for me, making a whole host of errors behind. Look at that, slams on the handbrake, almost comes to a stop, has to nearly reinitiate. Is that much of a handbrake drag, but the scores drop in, Eddie.
they do, and with the slightest of advantages, it is taking it into the second half of the battle. Alan McNeil, we go to the judges.
Yeah, good lead run there, Ryan. Alan had good proximity. Ryan had good proximity for the first section of the track. Alan came out and took the wide line on the way out through Mobile 1. Again, Ryan was maintaining proximity, but as we came out across the injured course, he just dropped a little bit off. So Alan's taking a small advantage off the first run.
So there we go. Alan McNeil with a small advantage and now in the best place he can be in the chase position. Morton really needs to put down the perfect lead run. We've seen him do it a couple of times already this weekend. Eddie?
Yeah, I think his biggest issue here, though, is the fact that Alan McNeil has serious pace around this circuit.
Yeah, Alan McNeil is absolutely on point this weekend as they come down the straight and fire in to the first turn. Alan McNeil. Oh, Alan McNeil on a good line, but Morton dropping wheels.
Yeah, McNeil ran wide at the second clipping zone, but then Morton drops wheels at clip 3 as they switch it back now. Again, just throwing it down onto the wall here. Ryan tagging that wall, goes a little bit wide. Oh, gets all out of shape, but McNeil is making some errors. Scrappy end to that one. A bit of a scrappy beginning to it as well.
Yeah, Alan McNeil seemed to make a load of errors coming into the wall. I mean, I want to kind of see where it goes wrong. We're going to go to a replay. And look at this, Ryan Morton fires the car and McNeil, loads of aggression as they come in, but completely misses clipping point 2. Morton drops wheels, Morton gets it back on line, and so does McNeil. Well, I mean, he drops 4 completely there to try and gain some proximity, but then it kind of gets messy from here after this transition. Morton's on a really good line, but Alan McNeil, middle of the track, nowhere near clipping point 8. Not sure how the judges are going to score this, Eddie.
No, certainly work to be done from both drivers when they switch this one around and go back up to the start line. Not the perfection that they would have been looking for. You can see them down there having a little bit of a discussion with each other. I always wonder what drivers discuss when they're out of the cars like that.
What are you having for lunch?
Ryan giving his car just a little bit of a kick just to say, yeah. So, taking it through to the final for the final time this year is Alan McNeil. Alan McNeil takes it through to the final. Ryan Morton's going to the 3rd and 4th place playoff. We go back to the judges to talk us through it.
Yeah, well, I scored this one a 5-5. I mean, it wasn't particularly. Sorry, from either of them there. Alan, he did chase fairly hard. He was off clip 2, made a couple of dives to gain in on the proximity, but he's doing fairly well to keep up in there. But Ryan dropping a wheel at 3 didn't really make a big issue, but tagging the walls twice and that set him off and made him drop a wheel over between 7 and 8, and also slowed him up so much. And Alan was lucky to actually continue drifting behind him, and that's what kind of brought any advantage back, and most of it all kind of resting on the previous run.
So there we go, Eddie, and we move it along to the next battle in our top 4, which is a big one for Conor Shanahan right now.
Yeah, it's a battle between 2 guys whose collective age is less than my age on its own, which is upsetting. You can say that as well. It is
I'm only
a
24.
battle of a 14-year-old versus a 15-year-old with the title on the line. If Conor Shanahan wins this battle, he wins the championship. If he loses this battle, he has to battle to win the championship. Conor Shanahan really just needs his car to work for 2 more runs. And if he can work with it, he could see himself taking home the 2017 Pro-Am Championship.
Do you know the biggest problem right now for Conor Shanahan, apart from his engine?
Jordan Boyce.
An on-form Jordan Boyce as well. Not just any Jordan Boyce. This is the Jordan Boyce that started to shine at Driftland a few weeks ago. This guy, once he got the flavour, once he got the taste of a trophy and that champagne in his mouth, he didn't want to let go of it. And you know what? Once Jordan Boyce knows he's in for a chance of a podium, he runs with it.
Do you know what? I think he was a little bit intimidated on the Pro Sunday when he came up against Conor Shanahan. But I don't think he's going to be intimidated this time around. This is a different Jordan Boyce. This is new experience. So,
yeah.
Not only
go on, Eddie. Go on.
Not only does Conor Shanahan win the championship, if Conor Shanahan wins this battle, he will also win a complete 2JZ setup from JDM Distro, one of our sponsors this year. That engine may be required to be installed this evening for tomorrow's competition.
Yes, I wonder if JDM Distro could deliver that to the track this evening, and you know, John Shanahan and the guys will get that in.
If they can't, they'll have to argue with John Shanahan.
For the Super Series.
They're probably leaving their storage unit right now.
Right now, yeah. So on the line we have Connor Shanahan ready to lead in Jordan Boyce. This is for a place in the final. If Connor Shanahan takes this, he takes the 2017 Irish Drift Championship, Pro-Am Championship. If not, he has to battle for it. Jordan Boyce looking strong. Who's going to take it, Eddie? We're about to find out as Connor Shanahan fires his car in. Jordan Boyce is right with him. Absolutely all over him, but
Jordan Boyce puts it in too deep.
Jordan Boyce drops wheels as they come round Mobile 1. Jordan Boyce now trying to regain it. Connor Shanahan keeping that car balanced on the foot brake. Could this be the break that Connor Shanahan needed as he brings it across the line? Eddie.
Well, the aggression there from Jordan Boyce. He knew he had to go hard. He knew he had to put absolutely everything he had into that one. And you can see John Shanahan watching on there from the sidelines, along with Mitch Larner, who of course will be taking part tomorrow. Judges' scores do come in, and with a sizable 8.2 to 1.8 advantage, Connor Shanahan taking it into the second half of the battle. Judges, pretty clear cut there, but talk us through it.
Yeah, it really all comes down to proximity, and Connor kind of running away with that one a little bit. Jordan was really aggressive at initiation, but just couldn't keep up with the pace of Connor's car. Ended up dropping one, maybe two wheels coming past clipping point 3, and then after that point, then he just couldn't make up any of the gap that he had lost from there on in. Fairly sizable advantage to Connor going into the second run.
So Connor Shanahan now sits with an advantage and in the best place he can be to overturn and completely win this battle. As Jordan Boyce pulls up to the line, Connor Shanahan sits right behind him. Eddie, this is for the championship right now.
This is for the championship, and Connor Shanahan with a massive advantage. He needs to make one clean pass of the circuit, and he will be the 2017 Pro-Am Championship. You see Jordan Boyce getting a little bit out of shape just off the line. Here we go for the championship. Who is going to take it through to the final? Will it be Shanahan? Will it be Boyce? Boyce on an awesome line here, but Shanahan with the proximity. Door to door as they go around Mobile 1.
Look at Connor Shanahan absolutely firing it to the wall. Connor Shanahan is all over the back end of Boyce's Sierra as they come round the final turn for the last time. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Connor Shanahan and Jordan Boyce. So Eddie, we wait for the scores to drop in.
We do, and you know what? Dare I say it, we will see this battle so many more times in the future, and I certainly can't wait. Guys, give it up for 14 and 15-year-old Connor Shanahan and Jordan Boyce. Wow, what about that? So we await the judges' scores.
Yep, judges talking about this one, going over and over it in their head. We can see Jack Shanahan down there, we can see John Shanahan down there. And the scores drop in, Eddie.
The championship on the line. If Connor Shanahan wins this battle, he wins the championship. If he loses this battle, he has to battle for the championship. I can reveal, going to the final, is Connor Shanahan! Connor Shanahan goes to the final. Connor Shanahan is your Pro-Am 2017 champion. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the youngster representing Westlake Tyres and Shanahan Car Care. Car Sales, rather. We got to go back to the judges for a decision on it. Big run from Connor Shanahan over those two, but he really had to work for it against Jordan Boyce.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great run from both lads there. Jordan, doing an impeccable job in the lead position there, not really making any mistakes at all, but Connor just all over him all the way through, left foot braking where he's needed, getting out of positions we didn't think was possible. We thought he was going to get caught up at clip 6 here, but got out of it and stayed back on, got back on Jordan's door, coming back past the wall. And yeah, just great to watch, but well done, Connor. Well
done, Connor, indeed. But ladies and gentlemen, can we get a round of applause for Alan Hinds, who fought tooth and nail. He has been an incredible competitor and a very worthy second place finisher in the championship this year. So unfortunate that those two guys couldn't battle it out to see who was going to take it through. But you know what? We have a mouth-watering final ahead of us, Ian, and we also have a mouth-watering third and fourth place playoff to look at also.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, first of all, we're going to see Ryan Morton take on Jordan Boyce for the final step on the podium, and then we will see Alan McNeil take on Connor Shanahan for the final round, for the top step on the podium and the final round of this championship. Unbelievable drive from Connor Shanahan. You know, that car just holding out where he needed it to take the win. Yeah, I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, really unbelievable. And you know what? Delighted for all the guys, the team down at Shanahan's. Been a massive season for them, and you know, I think Connor Shanahan has really kind of graduated this year. I think his older brother Jack will be very concerned watching on, because that guy is just.
I mean, listen,
he has such a bright future ahead of him.
They said it last week at BDC that Connor Shanahan is a problem, and you know what? Next year, BDC Pro, IDC Pro, Connor Shanahan's going to be a problem. Yeah, he's going to be a problem.
He is a big problem.
So we await to get some guys on the start line. Ryan Morton should be down there ready to rock and roll. Yeah, we can see him, and Alan McNeil ready for action. Alan McNeil having the weekend of his lifetime right now. You know, looked very good in practice this morning, but you know what? I don't think that he thought he would be in the final of the final round.
I'm not sure either of these two guys. I think if you'd said to them at the start of the day, you know, that they'd finish in the grade 8, I think they might have taken it.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're coming up. Well, sorry, it's going to be Ryan Morton and Jordan Boyce. McNeil is going to be in the final. We are waiting on their competitors, but yeah, I think if you had said to either of those two guys that they'd make it this far, Morton, first time he's ever gotten this far in the competition. He's been plagued with clutch issues all day as well, so I don't think he expected this card to even last this long. McNeil, though, I mean, the prospect that he has now, he's coming up against Connor Shanahan. Those two guys, you know, battled it out in the past in the amateur series together as well. And they'll relish the chance to take on each other in the final here at the final round. Two more battles in the Pro-Am Championship before we round out the 2017 season. It has been an incredible season. I mean, the standard has really jumped, and I think the feeder series, the Irish Amateur Championship, so many of these guys, I mean, if you look at the final four, all drivers have come from the Irish Amateur Drift Championship.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah, those guys are just that just goes to prove that feeder series works so well, you know, and that runs in the off season here at IDC. Yeah, I mean, look, the category of driver is unbelievable. Look at Ryan Morton; his driving is phenomenal. Alan McNeil's driving is phenomenal. You just can't fault the way that feeder series works.
And if you look at it, with the exception of Connor Shanahan's car, the other three finalists here have relatively modest builds.
Relatively, yeah. So we can just hear Jordan Boyce making his way back to the start line, ready to battle Ryan Morton for the final step on the podium.
Yeah, Ryan Morton just warming his tyres there and keeping himself occupied. He didn't take it to the final, but he will. It would mean the world to him to leave with a trophy here. It would mean the world to Jordan Boyce to leave here with a trophy. Can Jordan Boyce continue his good run? Can Ryan Morton overcome the young gun and take his first ever Pro-Am podium? What a way that would be to finish out the season for him, and certainly give him the confidence going into the 2018 season that he would need to feel like he could be a top contender and take it through to the pro class for 2019. So here we go. For the final time this season, Ryan Morton takes on Jordan Boyce. One spot on the podium is up for grabs. Morton to lead in. Boyce, big dive down the inside here from Boyce. Both drivers just managed to keep it on track there, Ian.
You know what? Jordan Boyce looked like he was going to fall off track, but unbelievable car control kept him where he needed to be. Morton looks dialed out front though, Eddie. Boyce now trying to rein in IADC champion Ryan Morton. Just about gets back on him again as they bring it across the finish line. Very close battle there. So judges just having a quick chat about this one. a little bit of separation through clipping point 1 here, Eddie. I mean, Boyce initiates exactly the same time as Morton, but Morton keeps that car in. Looks like Boyce just has to slightly dial out of it for fear of dropping off circuit.
Yeah, he started out with good proximity, and then just, as you say, coming through that first corner starts to lose a little bit of ground.
But they keep it going. And you know what? It's a good battle in the end. A very, very good third and fourth place battle. So the scores drop in, Eddie. Yeah, and with a 6-4 advantage, Jordan Boyce takes the advantage there. We go to our judges.
Good lead run there by Ryan. The only error I saw actually is just straight across from us here at clip 6. He just dropped the wheel, but it's a small mistake. Jordan, really good chase run. He maintained reasonably good proximity throughout the run. So he's coming away after that with a 6-4.
So there we go. We swap them around now. Jordan Boyce to lead in Ryan Morton on. We will be giving you the winner of this battle, Eddie, once it happens. So you will know who finishes third once this run is underway. They're on the start line ready to go. We're ready to go. Our judges are ready to go. They get the thumbs up. They get a green light. It's Ryan Morton to chase down Jordan Boyce for the final step on the podium. Who's it going to be? As they come down the start line, Jordan Boyce absolutely fires his Sierra in on big angle. Ryan Morton gets wild and gets it straight after dropping wheels on the inside of the circuit. Boyce on a really good line in Mobile 1, Eddie.
Yeah, Ryan Morton getting wild and wet there and getting caught. Jordan Boyce, though, you can just see him flick the wipers, a sprinkle of rain, but not enough to affect these guys just yet. Oh! Contact!
Big contact.
Big contact. I think Ryan Morton out of position there as not giving Jordan Boyce sufficient room to transition back. Jordan did appear to be on the correct line. We'll just get a quick replay of that just to confirm it.
Yeah, huge initiation from Boyce. Look at that, fires that car in almost 90 degrees to the circuit, then keeps it absolutely pinned. Really good line from Jordan Boyce. Nice and high on Mobile 1. Gets nice and deep in clipping point 5. Good transition. Now Morton starts to gain back that proximity. Look where he puts that car, absolutely on the inside of Jordan Boyce. Gets on the door. Now this is where it goes wrong. Transitions way too early and puts himself off of clipping point 8. So not a good look there for Ryan Morton. The scores drop in. And taking the win and the final step on the podium is Jordan Boyce. Jordan Boyce gets the win.
Jordan Boyce gets the win. He takes the third step on the podium. Guys, put your hands together for Ryan Morton. He has put on one hell of a fight today. But Jordan Boyce takes it to the podium. We go back to the judges to talk us through it.
Yeah, up until about clipping point 8 it was very close. Jordan went a good lead run, but Ryan was showing fairly good aggression. He had decent proximity up until clipping point 3, but then had made a mistake and had to take the inside line around Mobile 1 corner. Did gain back up that ground and was on Jordan's door between clip point 7 and 8, but unfortunately he was too aggressive and didn't give Jordan enough room to transition back. Jordan had no other choice only to hit the front of Ryan's car with the back of his, and that actually put him off course. So then we deemed that to be Ryan's fault, therefore it's a 10-0 advantage to Jordan, and Jordan takes the battle overall.
So there you go, taking the final trophy. On the podium is Jordan Boyce. Is going to be absolutely over the moon with that. Well, we move it along to the start line, Eddie, where we see your 2017 IDC Pro-Am champion, Conor Shanahan, to lead out Alan McNeil for the decider, really. Can Conor Shanahan win the championship and win this round? He looks confident, he looks strong.
Yeah, he does, and it just looks as though we're going to have to have a reshuffle here because McNeil is the higher qualifier.
And David Egan just giving us some more information. They're saying that all 4 top finishers this weekend are IADC drivers, and that Alan McNeil his age is combined as the same as Jordan Boyce and John Shanahan. It's been a long day already.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
You'll be forgiven. It's slightly cold.
That's how old Alan McNeil is. He's older. He's older than John Shanahan, Jack Shanahan, and Conor Shanahan.
And Alan McNeil.
But they're off the line, and it is Alan McNeil to lead in Conor Shanahan. Conor Shanahan with the aggression, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable as he starts to make the dive on the foot brake. Brilliant. Oh, and Alan McNeil using the handbrake to try and reinitiate on clipping point 4. Shanahan gives him a little bit of room, Eddie.
Yeah, Shanahan gives him a little bit of room, but now throws it down onto the door as they switch it back towards the wall. The final section of the track, McNeil drops the wheel, and they take it across the line. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Alan McNeil and Conor Shanahan. So we await to see who's going to take the advantage.
Look at that
into the
aggression.
second half of this battle. We're not going to let you know what the score is. We will let you know, though, whether or not there is an advantage one way or the other.
Yeah, so we wait for the scores to drop in. And the scores are in, Eddie.
And all we can say is that there's an advantage one way.
That's all we can say. That's all we're allowed to say. So we go back to the start line. So we head back to the start line, and we do see Conor Shanahan ready to lead in Alan McNeil for possibly the final run of the day.
Yeah, the final run of the day, potentially, and the final run of the 2020-17 Pro-Am Series. And you know what? It's so fitting that we have our championship winner in the final. Can he take it home? Can he take that top step on the podium one last time? He's fresh off a win in the Pro Series in BDC. Can Conor Shanahan take the victory? Here we go. Shanahan to lead in McNeil, and a big gap opens up, but Shanahan runs a little bit wide.
Yeah.
Keeps it on the track as McNeil comes shallow and starts to miss some clipping zones to try and gain that advantage back. He does get onto the door of Shanahan, but starts to drop back once again as Shanahan throws it onto the wall. Shanahan throws a big angle onto the wall, but keeps it pinned. McNeil starts to make mistakes behind him, dropping wheels, obliterates the cone, and bumpers everywhere as they cross the line. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for your finalist, Alan McNeil and Conor Shanahan. Whew.
Unbelievable run there for Conor Shanahan. Look at the line he takes flawlessly. At the wall run, look at this wall run, absolutely brilliant. Nice transition off that clipping point, absolutely perfect wall run. Takes the back paddle out of that car, an arm out the window as he takes it across the line.
So we need to go to the judges to find out if we have a decision or if there will be a one more time. Judges, is it a decision or a one more run rather?
Yes, we have a decision.
The judges have a decision. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to take this time to invite you all down in front of the grandstand onto the track where we will have our prize giving ceremony. Ian, it has been a hard fought day. We know the result of our championship. We do not know the result of the final battle. Will it be Shanahan? Will it be McNeil? Before we go to it, can I get one big round of applause from all of you in attendance for all of our drivers here this weekend? They have put on one hell of a show today and for the full 2017 season.
Yeah, it's been an absolutely brilliant 2017 championship, and these guys have drove unbelievable. They've just got stronger and stronger and stronger this year, you know, and it's just been an absolute pleasure commentating and being here and watching these Pro-Am drivers excel in what they do. So as Eddie heads out of the tower and down to the podium, we're going to get those guys out on circuit and just lined up in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, as they pull up and they get out of their cars, give them a round of applause. They are your 2017 Pro-Am finalists. And just before we go, we need a car moved. So if you have a number plate, which is 151C52, could you please move your car? Because it is obstructing some people. So I am just being joined in the tower by David Egan.
What a day of Pro-Am, huh?
What a season of Pro-Am.
It all came down to the final round, just like it did at BDC. Connor jumping from second in the championship up to first, but has he won it? That's the question. Eddie Power has the all-important piece of paper. Remember, we go into the Pro final tomorrow. We have 2 drivers on the grid rebuilding brand new engines tonight for that event. 12 countries, 1 streak on the line, and some of the best from Formula Drift and across Europe and even across the Middle East and the world here tomorrow. It promises to be the big one, but the big question now is who has won the final round of the Pro-Am Championship here. And you know what, all of these guys will be back in action tomorrow, and I can't wait to see them mix it up with the top guys, and I definitely think they're going to be in the mix for sure. What an edge of your seat finish. You know, it comes all the way down to the final. That's what you love about championships like this. It's so tight to the end, and it's been an incredible journey, I think, for a lot of these Pro-Am drivers this year. And of course, these guys, except for you know, we'll see Alan McNeil and Jordan Boyce back in that Pro-Am championship next year, so I think they'll be right up there. But we're going to tune in with Eddie and see if he's got the results and who has basically taken home the last trophy from Pro-Am this year.
Prize giving for the final time. And guys, before we do announce your winners today, can we get one big round of applause for all 3 drivers in the finals today? And I can reveal, taking 3rd place today is Jordan Boyce. Which leaves one last decision to be made. And guys, they fought it tooth and nail all season, and they really put it up to each other in the final. Can I get a big round of applause for Conor Shanahan and Alan McNeil? Taking 2nd place in the final round of the Pro-Am Championship is Alan McNeil! Meaning your winner and 2017 Pro-Am champion is Conor Shanahan! That wraps up the Pro-Am Championship for 2017. We will be back in the new year with more action, but more importantly, we will be back tomorrow for the Pro Championship and the final round of the Irish Drift Championship in 2017. Join us live then, and we will talk to you soon.